Hello, everyone, and welcome back to AML week number 7 this time. We missed you last week, Ozzy, but how's it going today?
It's going well. My trip was wonderful. Shout out to Gebetto for filling in for me. So, kind of a friend. So hopefully he did well last week. But I'm here. I'm back. I'm ready for the rest of the split. And speaking of the rest of the split, Boss Kitty, time is closing in for teams to start getting ready for playoffs as we're in week 7 here in AML.
Yes, we are. And today we're looking at the TOF Devils versus Hextech Hackers. And this is a very important match, especially for the Hackers. Like you were kind of talking about before we went live here, they kind of desperately need a 2-0 if they're going to guarantee themselves for playoff contention. And even then, it's not really guaranteed because who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. So right now, Hextech Hackers and TOF both coming off of 0-2 losses, which is pretty rough, right? You definitely don't want to lose that way, but of course, still have a little itty-bitty bit of time to kind of turn yourselves around here. But looking at standings, right, specifically, you still have like the Syndicate team that's splitting both of these teams up that are 3-3 right now, and TOF is 3-2, and Hextech Hackers is 2-3. So there's a lot of things that can happen with Syndicate kind of deciding kind of what's going to be happening for both of these teams. But regardless, both teams really want to win today because, again, a loss here for Hextech Hackers is basically guaranteed out. I'm pretty confident to say that. I'm pretty confident to say I think a loss here today almost guarantees them out, barring some disastrous results next week from teams. And the next week, of course, if they win, they'll be tied up. Especially specifically with a 2-0, they'll be pushed ahead in game record. But if they're 2-1 today, they're actually tied. So with TOF, so you definitely for Hextech Hackers want to 2-0 today, I would say. Of course, now we're looking at the other side. TOF also just want to 2-0 today because that gives them a whole lot of breathing room. In terms, because again, that 4th seed going into playoffs is actually really, really, really contentious right now between Syndicate, also Hextech Hackers here, right, and TOF all kind of vying for that 4th place spot.
Yeah, and tiebreakers can be very iffy depending on your head-to-head, even game time, game score, match score, all that stuff will be very important. So winning decisively is going to be very important for whoever wants to take that home today. But I know we were talking about it just a little bit before, but we should do our champion stats check-in with our weekly favorite. How's it looking?
Well, to no one's surprise, we're looking at Ambessa still being the highest presence champion in all of AML, and it's not even close. In fact, she is gapping the second champion by 20%. Presence. So Ambessa pretty strong, still pretty ban favorited here now, jumping up to a 55% ban rate across the board. And she's been picked 30 times and she maintains her 67% win rate. So perhaps we just keep it banned, make that ban rate 100%. Obviously can't do it now, but from this point forward, make it 100% because it's very clearly this champion is just unleashed in the hands of AML top laner.
Yeah. And, it is very strong. We've seen a lot of people have really good games on it. I believe it was played last week, if I'm not mistaken. I think Ambessa is just a solid champion right now in general. And it's clear that a lot of these teams have had a lot of practice with it. So we'll see if that comes into play today, if they want to pick it or ban it or any combination across the 2, potentially 3 games. Although with our luck, it's probably going to be 3. But
I am back. I am back. So unfortunately, the era of 2-0 is gone, I fear, for us. And these teams are close, right? I would suspect that today is going to be a close matchup regardless because they're close in standings. And of course, standings aren't always everything, but again, kind of looking at some of the losses they've had and some of the wins they've had, kind of similar team. strengths that they're losing to, and also similar weaknesses that they're able to punish. So I would suspect today is going to be a pretty good one here as a viewer. And obviously, for us as a caster, we have the TOF Devils, though. Here, we're going to have worker co-ops in the top lane, Nebzat in the jungle, Lechos and Goat in the mid lane, Bandit in the bot lane, and Arkham19 in the support role, and Bunsky as a little sub. Shout out to the subs. I'm a sub apologist. You people are the goats. Thank you for being subs and helping your team, because, sometimes you need it.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, definite shout out to the subs here on Hextech Hackers, because a few of them will be filling in today, it looks like. But the main roster is looking like Grussel in the top lane, Dota 2 in the jungle, Lou Killers in the mid lane, Prone in the bot lane, and Kittle Kit Kat in support. But as far as I heard, I think Himmel and Winter and Smexy are all filling in today, potentially. We'll have to see exactly what that looks like when we go into the game. But definitely subs coming in handy here for the hackers.
Yeah. All right. I think for the first time that I've casted AML, I'm going to say that we're going to be looking at the mid lane. Literally no reason, by the way. I just want to look at mid lane this week. I feel like I'm trying to spread the love throughout the weeks, and if you're keeping a close eye on things like NACL, which I've been co-streaming since it started, so mid lane is like a really important role. So obviously M600 is a bit different than NACL being tier 2 players, right? But having an impactful mid laner can help the game so much, right? Like if you have a good mid laner, the game just feels so much easier. Whether it's on something like a Talia and they're hitting those roams for your bot lane, or it's something like, a Ryze who will carry the team fight for you. If your AD carry does happen to get caught on mid-wave like Crown Shot. Is there prio in bot lane? Probably not. But regardless, let's look at some bans here. Hey, there's the Ambessa. So shocking. Orianna, who is still gone without nerfs, continuing her reign of terror in the mid lane. So not shocked to see that one. And hey, the number 2 champion just got first picked in terms of presence, even though he's gapped by 20% by Ambessa.
I mean, still up there. If it's picked a lot, there's usually a reason behind it. But one thing I will say is we've been talking about the Orianna a lot alongside the Ambessa. Hextech Hackers obviously taking that one out as well. But it was last week too, where we were just shocked. Like the Orianna wasn't picked until second phase or wasn't banned until second phase. And it seems like a lot of teams just don't have prio on that champion. But definitely good pick up there for the Varus. There's the Ryze, which you were talking about for Hextech Hackers, is definitely one of the strongest mid laners right now. But it does give the Devils a chance to counter pick there in the mid lane, which I don't know. What do you think they're going to look at?
Well, Ahri has risen up in priority a whole lot because she got buffed, and now that we're starting to see like pro play come back, it'll actually be Pantheon here, but with pro play coming back, we're actually seeing a whole lot more Ahri than we used to, due to part of the buffs, and also with Ahri coming back, it means Vi is coming back because that duo is tried and true. So we'll see if it is going to be the Ahri. Of course, something like the Cassiopeia or the Anivia also really good to the Ryze. Cass kind of took a back burner. It's kind of all the Nivea train now, like the hype train into the Ryze. But that's still possible. But it will be the Galio here. Now for Varus, of course, one of the most flexible AD carries in the roster of champions. So on hit, you could go some AP shenanigans if you're going top lane Varus. You don't really see that all too often in the bot lane. Or lethality, which I believe, still doing okay, although definitely because of the changes they made, on hit has actually kind of started to creep back in when necessary. But we'll see what is opted for here. But J4 Galio, that is a lot of circle going on there.
Yes, it is. And I mean, I like what they're setting up here. They have the Varus to poke from range. They have the Galio, the Jarvan to dive. As long as you have like one diving like damage threat, I think it could be really good. Say we get something like an I don't know. It's like an Mbessa top lane would be a great example, obviously, if it wasn't banned. Something like Camille, maybe, we've seen paired with the Galio, especially into something like an Ezreal. You know, Ezreal's got a lot of mobility, you can lock him down. But I love the comp that the Devils are putting together, long story short. They definitely have an identity building. We'll see if they can round it out well in 4 and 5. But what do you think about the Ezreal and Tavares?
Well, I think Ezreal's in a good spot, especially if you're not like kind of sure like what you're playing against right now. Like, obviously you kind of see like the Galio J4 coming through, and Ezreal's great into J4 in general. Also watching, I believe it was LEC. You know, oh actually no, it was NACL. It was I think Sushi playing Ezreal. Buffering the taunt from Galio was really impactful in a fight. So a lot of mobility here to kind of get away from some of that dive that's presented here from TOF, which could bite them a little bit, because I do think they kind of really hard sat on their draft. They're like, yeah, we're going to engage on you. You know, we see this Rise is super mobile, like the Pantheon's kind of a mobile too. But now you just kind of present an Ezreal who doesn't really care all that much against Tavares. In reality, one thing that's AD carries struggle a lot in Tavares sometimes is getting picked, because Chains of Corruption is a really good pick tool. But if you're Ezreal, assuming you aren't arcane shifting in like a psychopath for a mid wave, the chances of that happening is super low.
Yes.
So I do really appreciate the Ezreal answer here from Hextech Hackers. And I do worry a little bit here, because as you said, you know, TOF really want to find some kind of like backline, you know, like dive threat here that they don't really have right now. And as we're looking here, the Varus is actually kind of their biggest damage dealer, regardless of what build he's building this game, is going to be their biggest damage dealer, because Galio's not really in a spot where he can build the damage build anymore, especially into a champion like Rise, which is doing super well. But we got a lot of top lane bans here coming through, the Jace or the Poke, and also the Jax, which might make me think of a Gnar here for TOF, because, you know, Gnar really bad into the Jax. Mini Gnar really struggles to get away from him, and that's kind of where it all comes through. And the Jax can kind of just ignore Mega Gnar because he just jumps away from the Mega, so it's kind of the reverse, right? Like, usually for top laners, Mini Gnar is the annoying one, but that's actually the opposite for Jax. But it will be the Nami, so Nami's still definitely one of the best supports. Slated to get nerfed upcoming, literally this patch, so, but that's not today. Oh.
Yeah, might as well get your games in while you can.
That's true.
As it will be the Gwen picked up as well here. Definitely a damage dealer, not so much a diver, obviously. It was a little bit mobile, but if you get a good flank, I'm sure that could still be a great combo there. One thing I will point out, the Hackers picked up Thresh here on R4, just kind of doubling down on the peel, doubling down on the anti-engage here. You know, say we do waste the Arcane Shift, we always have the Lantern to get you out of that Cataclysm. Things like that. Helping out the Rise could also be really great there, as it will be the Kennen counterpick to the Gwen. I'm not sure how that matchup goes, but Kennen's always fun to watch.
Kennen is very fun to watch. Also, this is a pretty good matchup for the Kennen, especially because Gwen struggles so much early, and Kennen can just bully you out so hard. In fact, Kennen kind of been on the sidelines for a while now. You know, kind of been a sad top laner. He's been kind of taken over by Rumble. It's been Rumble every game instead of we see Kennen every game, you know. But regardless, I'm curious to see how this top lane matchup is going to go. But something a bit head scratching for me about TOF's draft is they ended up banning the Jax. Now Gwen obviously can struggle in the Jax, but also blind picking the Gwen here kind of feels maybe not the most ideal, because I think you're really not going to have a great time against the Ezreal unless you do find that miraculous flank angle, right? But how are you going to find that when the Ezreal A has Arcane Shift? You have to deal with a Thresh Lantern as well in fights. I'm just a bit worried here, Boss Kitty, about how this Gwen is going to perform.
Yeah, I mean, when you are counterpicked like that, especially in the top lane, it can be very rough. Like you said, the Kennen is a lane bully early, and that is Gwen's weakest point in the game. But I think if worker co-ops can get through that lane phase and, maybe get some flanks. I think it could be good. I mean, I think the main problem here is that Jarvan and Galio want to do very different things than the rest of the team. And so I think they kind of didn't maybe round out with 4-5 the best that they could. I know that Nami is strong and that a lot of these enchanter supports have been kind of the meta lately, but I do think with this comp, something like an engage support could even lend a hand if you're trying to lock someone down, lock down the Ezreal, give a chance for your Varus and Gwen to do some damage. But now I'm just looking at the Hextech actors. I think that the kind of onus is on them. They have to counter engage, they have to peel, and I think that's a lot easier depending on how the Devils want to play their comp.
Yeah, I think also looking at TOF's draft, right? Like, what if the cannon is unleashed, right? Barring Galio pressing his ultimate, what are they really doing to stop it, right? Like, the Gwen has no tools to really prevent that from happening. The Nami, yeah, has tidal wave, sure, but like, is that really going to be enough? You're playing double immobile, like, backline between your Nami and Ezra, or your Varus, excuse me. I do worry that this cannon might just be absolutely eating their backline in majority of fights. But again, comes down to execution, But I think we should, talk about what are our dragon predictions here, because I think this game, since I'm coming back, we got a Hextech hackers. Why not a Hextech soul? Give me that, Yeah.
And I'll go with the Poke Varus alongside maybe the Cannon Burst. I'll say Infernal. Let's get some one shots in here. I'm here to see it.
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, I would like to say, don't sell your comps. And in fact, how about you go buy some items from Zen Market? Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 3,000 yen off your first international shipping fee.
Yeah, thank you, Zen Market. And I think we're going to take a little break here before the first game gets rolling. So we'll see you guys on the Rift. All right, here we are with game number 1 between the Devils and the Hackers. And I don't know, I'm trying to look, not too much going on here at level 1. What are you expecting? Don't say what we always say.
Yeah, don't say what we always say. Yeah, it's going to be a bloodbath, obviously. Like, I feel like it's going to be a bloodbath, just like every single game, you know? But speaking of in the mid lane, we're going to have Aegis Frame Galio making his appearance here, which always a nice thing to see. Honestly, they absolutely killed it with these Gundam skins. Some of my favorite that they've released recently. But specifically to talk more about the game, Pantheon actually could get a couple of cheeky ganks pathing towards top here. So setting this Gwen behind, who already into a pretty rough matchup, could be disastrous here for TOF if that does come to fruition.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned Pantheon's going top. It looks like Jarvan's going the other way as Bandit. Nice dodge there on the hook. But Jarvan will be heading towards bot side, will be able to potentially make a play onto the Ezreal, onto this Thresh, especially if they keep pushing in the lane like this. They could be vulnerable to an early gank.
Yeah, they definitely could be here. Also, I want to point it out again, Bandit with a really phenomenal forward step there. Just trading into the Galio. Does take a little bit more damage than necessary. But overall, definitely not as bad as it could be, I suppose. But I would say that in this mid lane matchup, we could see this Galio get a whole lot of value if they can find, also something that's really important is setting behind the Kennen as well, right? Like, that is something that, could very easily happen, is setting the Kennen behind. The Kennen's not going to be that much of a threat. Also, the exhaust coming through here for the Gwen will mean any kind of all-in attempt, level 6, is going to be very easily thwarted in terms of, at least while you have your exhaust, but already kind of seeing why it's a bit of an annoyance there for the Gwen.
Definitely. I mean, I think exhaust is just the biggest counter to these champions that kind of just go in and that's their only option. I always take exhaust against something like Tristana because she hops in, and if you block that damage with an exhaust, it's just so powerful. So definitely a smart choice there, I think, from Kendrick in the top lane. I believe this is their original player. I think they said they were playing on a different account that's also listed on AML. But as they go forward, definitely not the best trades for the Gwen here in the early game. Exhaust. Yeah, and Nevzit flashes forward, gets behind Grussel, trying to get to the Kennen. Still low, but here's Pantheon for the counter gank. As we move to the bot side, Winter's getting low down here too. And it looks like both junglers show up in the top lane, but no one dies.
No one dies, which, well, I talked about a bloody, well, yeah, hold that one.
Yeah, flash stun onto the Gwen, but there's Grussel moving a little bit too far forward, getting caught, but Kendrick will be slain on the other side. It's a 1-for-1 for now, and it looks like Nevzat will be able to just walk away.
Yeah.
Bandit gets flashed forward into the hook, getting dangerously low, taken down by Prone, now moving forward, but really low against Arkham. Does use the barrier and gets the double kill for Hackers in the bot lane.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what Grussel decided he was gonna do in that top play, but first blood going over to TOF is nice, but bot lane winning the 2v2 is great. Ezreal, as we talked about, incredibly slippery. So you'd hate to see Ezreal get ahead in this game, to the point that, they don't really have a response, because they don't really have the best comp in dealing with the Ezreal. But for now, plenty of time for them to answer that question. As well, Nami will just get rooted and basically take no damage thanks to her own little heal there from the ebb and flow.
Yeah. It was a little bit of a bloody early game a little earlier, and I expect some more now that we're getting close to the level 6s around the map. But here's a repeat gank onto the top lane. There is the slicing Maelstrom from Kennen. Actually picks up the kill onto Kendrick. Now has to deal with the Jarvan, but will get knocked up. Should go down here, I'd imagine. There's the Cataclysm and the hero's entrance used there from the GOAT. Gressel trying to walk away. Flash and taunt, and Nevzat picks up the kill. Nice counter kill there onto the enemy top laner.
That was a fantastic play. Get the kill back, but again, this Gwen is 0-2. Was, utilizing the exhaust previously. Doesn't have it for the slicing Maelstrom all in. And it's Gressel getting a nice and easy kill for himself before falling victim. Look at the CS difference here in the top lane.
Ooh,
very brutal. Very brutal. So, perhaps, perhaps we, focus on CSing, take a, let it, need a work.
Right as you said that, they're onto the Kennen once again. Cataclysm still available. No splash means Gressel is caught. I think trying to give the kill over to Kendrick is a good idea here, as the Gwen will pick up the first kill of the game for themselves, which is always great if you're one of the main damage carries on your team.
Yeah, great play from TOF to get something back here for the Gwen. I was just about to say, like, the wave state there for the Gwen was actually quite brutal. But Nevzat, they're at the right time. And unfortunately, this Pantheon, who still not level 6, by the way, because of the invade that happened from Nevzat earlier, can't even respond there with like a Grand Starfall. They will get the Drake, but at the end of the day, the Drake really doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can convert it into something bigger. Prone is ahead. I think that stacking Drakes here in the early game will prove pretty easy for hackers if they're able to maintain that bot lane advantage. But then again, you're still against Avaris and Nami, and they can take priority. So it still might be a little bit of a battle there on the bot side. But either way, I love the attention that Nevzat has been putting towards the top lane so far, trying to make sure that Gwen can stay in the game, especially since it will be so crucial in those mid-game team fights.
Yeah, I think as well that something that could be a potential issue here for, either team really, is you have two incredibly great flanking champions in the top lane, right? Gwen, really good. Maybe not as good as something like a Kennen because of the slicing Maelstrom impact. But overall, both champions in the top lane can flank really well. So both teams, should they struggle to get some of this priority, or they kind of drop some vision, it can very easily turn into a complete bloodbath where they're just getting aced instantly playing around an objective because they just simply didn't have enough vision control.
Definitely. I think the flanks are the thing to watch out for both these teams once we get into those bigger team fights. But I'm expecting a lot more action. I'm hoping we get some side lane plays. We have the Realm Warp, we have the Hero's Entrance, we have things like the Grand Starfall. All of those have, map-wide impact or nearly. So if we can get onto the side lane, I think whoever wins, like top lane or even the mid laners, once they get out into those side lanes, will have a huge advantage in this game. As Bandit in some trouble here. Hero's Entrance will come out. Bandit flashes to get away for now. Winter getting dangerously low, will go down to Bandit as this dive has gone poorly for the hackers so far. Bandit managing to stay alive, does have to use both summoner spells, but so far it's a win for the Devils, and it looks like the hackers are backing off.
That is so tragic there for the Hextech hackers. They should have been able to convert that kill, but disrespecting the Galio being able to join, and as we mentioned, just very tragic. I do want to point out that I really do think that Exhaust coming through on the top side.
Yeah, there's the ultimate invested from Gressel to Prone now. Danger on the bot side, gets caught by the bubble and the tidal wave, but actually gets over the wall, so manages to get out even after that amazing play from Arkham, as now the victim will be Winter after trying to save their AD carry. Wow, Ezreal slippery.
That is disgusting that bubble hit. Oh my god. If that wasn't Ezreal, 100% of death. Good flash over the wall for prone, but still, TOF, you know, they are really making great plays around the map. Unfortunately, on the top side, Wynn does pass away once more, which a bit brutal. Is able to teleport back for these minions, but as I mentioned, the top side, really brutal. You know, you don't want to see that at all. In terms of the CS lead here, and also the fact that this cannon keeps getting these like kills, it can be a bit annoying here again for TOF to kind of deal with the cannon. With the exhaust will help a little bit, but Grussel looking to pressure Kindark again off of this top wave.
Yeah, you were talking about looking at mid lane before the game started, but mid lane's been pretty quiet. It's mostly been a lot of top lane action, which I love to see because I think that a lot of people kind of write off top lane nowadays. You know, you just wait for the mid game team fights. You're kind of just 1v1ing. Sometimes you're stuck on tanks. But look what we got here. We got a Kennen, we got a Gwen. We have these carry champions in the top lane. And I love to see it personally, as Bandit definitely in some trouble now. No summoners to save them. Here is the repeat dive and the success now from the hackers. Nicely done.
Yeah, this one they actually caught, well, both the timing of the Galio ultimate being down and him on a reset. So even if that was available, that was a dead Varus nonetheless. So good dive here from Hextech hackers. As we're looking at Drake, 30 seconds. Now, I'm still in the running for mine. So we'll see if my wish comes to fruition. As we've been kind of having a really poor split and guessing in our RNG battle here. I won't lie, Boss Kitty.
Yeah, definitely.
Time is running out for us, you know? We were talking about teams, you know, and their whole like playoff and always being on this timer because you want to get ready for playoffs. Well, our time is also running out. To engage in the mid lane onto Himmel. Oh, yeah. Flashing early.
Forced out. That's really nice as they actually get the Cataclysm too. Now stuck in here with the enemy mid and jungle. Lantern comes, but it's just too late as Hamal will be taken down before this dragon fight even starts.
Really interesting choice of flash there coming out from Hamal, but doesn't get punished for it. Will be Drake. Number 2 going the way towards TOF, so they'll pick up their first of the game. And the
we'll
top
get our
side,
answer.
Top lane.
Oh, of course. Oh, as the Maelstrom comes out, this could be a dive for Grussel, dominating the top lane so far with this counter pick. And that's an amazing punish for the Devils investing resources bot side.
And, well, it is going to be Kentech's ult. So, womp womp.
Dang it.
Well, Pantheon being looked at here by Nevzat.
Yeah, gets the stun. I don't think they know that the goat is on the other side of the wall. Now they definitely do. So backing off for the hackers. But at least they push Pantheon out of the jungle.
At least they do push Pantheon out of the jungle there because, again, we've already kind of seen some invade shenanigans from Nevzat. Hook will hit on that minion. Decent attempt from Winter, but minion wave is there, and also Arkham chose to backstep instead of dodge forward. So even if the minion wasn't there, would have missed regardless. But should be a soon to be back here. I think both of these supports haven't really been roaming much as I actually would like to see them, to be honest. Something to like kind of measure yourself as a support is how often you're able to roam and get impact around the map outside of bot lane, while it's also not punishing your AD carry for those roams, right? Like, it's a very hard line, as actually Hook will miss there, but if that connected, might not have been what they wanted. As you can see, the J4 is here. Grand Starfall available here for the Pantheon. Just 1 second. If not, it's already up.
Yeah, so they could look for a play here. You know, we have Nevzat on the bot side as well. Rift Herald's up, so the objective should be towards top side. But I think the Devils know that top side is definitely in the favor of the hackers right now, as the first turret will go down to this Kennen. And Yeah, that is definitely a mismatch. I wonder if we can see some gold on these top laners, as actually Engage chosen from the Galio, but I think just too tanky really to be taken down there, as this is a 2,000 gold lead for the Kennen individually right now.
Yeah, first tower as well. Pantheon in some danger though.
Yeah, this is a 2v3, so they go on to Pantheon, but they don't do very much damage, as we were talking about earlier. Here's the Cataclysm into the hero's entrance, trying to get some CC down. Here's the Tidal Wave as well, actually. Good follow-up here from the Devils. Lantern pulls Hamal out for now, but flash forward from the Galio will catch the Rise. Hamal goes down once again, and I was talking about mid lane being inactive, but definitely having a lot of impact in that fight as the Galio.
Yeah, I mean, TOF show up with all 5 members at the exact perfect time there. As Hextech hackers, look at this, right? Like, the Thresh is in here, the Ezreal's still bot lane, but their entire team is collapsing here. Great engage from Nevsat and Goat as well, utilizing the ultimate to get the knock-up. And this was some great supporting coming from Winter, but unfortunately, LeChosen Goat showcasing why he deserves that name, perhaps, as the Grand Starfall. Whoa, no shot.
And it walks back into the stun, gets chunked, has to use the flash and barrier just to get away. That was crazy. I thought they were dead for sure. As here's Grussel, no Maelstrom available right now, so just trying to defend the tower, it looks like. But wow, that is not how I expected our mid-game team fights to be going. Who do you think has the edge right now?
Well, I think TOF, if they can keep, meatballing, right, the Ezreal's still not spiked as hard. Sure, they kind of have, like, the mid-game spike from the Kennen, which is historically incredible. But it's into a Galio, so it's not really that crazy. But, as far as it's going to be doing a bit more than the Ezreal at this moment, as the Ezreal still looking for his Mirror Mana. So once that's online, it's a bit better. Gristle is in a sticky situation in top lane.
And Flash is available, so I think waiting for the Cataclysm, but actually isn't flashing out of it right now, opting to fight at a moment's notice.
Oh, is he out?
Follow with that Maelstrom. Might actually just walk away here with the speed. The camera shows us bot lane, but I did not think that was survivable for Grussel, but nicely done.
Hey, Grussel finding it out there. I thought he was going to maybe pull the Slicing Maelstrom a bit early to try and just trade 1-for-1 there, but plays his life, is going to have his top lane shoved in once more. Herald might be utilized mid here, though, as this Drake is spawned up. Just the second Drake for either team, so wouldn't really be that impactful of a Drake to take. As top lane tower does fall, same with mid lane tower, so good gold play here from TOF to, get some of this gold out from off the map here, get themselves back in a bit of a better position in terms of gold due to the top lane deficit that they have found themselves in.
Yeah, I mean, gold is pretty even right now across the teams, less than 100 gold difference. But obviously it's spread over some very different places. Huge gold lead in the top lane still for the hackers, but similarly a huge lead in the jungle for the Devils, as I didn't realize that Nevzat had 5 kills already, as catching the Gwen again is definitely what you want for the hackers, but the needlework will keep Hendrik safe for now. I do like these side lane plays that they're going for. I kind of want to see the Devils look for something similar as we get a little bit deeper into the mid game here. That is the second dragon over to the hackers as well, so scaling just a little bit in their favor right now.
Yeah, Slicing Maelstrom to do some damage here and also clear out some of the wave. They do sniff out Nevzat as well, kind of hanging around their topside jungle. Get some vision down. Really not much to be doing done in this game. Baron not spawned in for another 10 seconds. Neither team has the best comp for pulling Baron on spawn. The Gwen is kind of the best Baron doer in the game. In this game, let me say, not just in the game.
Yeah.
That could be misconstrued, I suppose. In this game, Gwen definitely the best Baron doer. It's actually True Shot Barrage doing quite a bit of damage, forcing it. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, everything going for this Nami. Flash invested 2. Flash over from prone. Will follow the Nami. Surviving just a little bit longer, but that should be it as prone picks up the kill. A lot invested there, but they do pick up the support from the Devil.
They did, in fact, invest a lot for the Nami, and I'm kind of curious why. Maybe they can turn this into something, but as it stands, well, they get a red buff, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Oh, it went on Winter.
Yeah, went on the Thresh. Hey, perfect person for it to go on, but they're dropping so much in top lane as well. Teleport coming through bot lane.
Actually canceled. So now they're a man down on this as the Cataclysm's here from Nevzat trying to just start this fight, but you're by yourself and you will go down. Gwen picks up the top laner on the other side. Nice revenge kill there, as it looks like it will just be a 1-for-1. And both of the people that I mentioned having the gold lead just died in that fight.
Hey, sometimes gold can be a curse here. You're punished for your gluttony. But overall, just going to be a 2-for-1, I guess, at the end of the day, because they picked up the Nami initially.
True.
Grussel going down to the Gwen, though, is actually kind of important. Does it mean, because they were in a 1v1, so that's really not great for the Kennen. Didn't have the Slicing Maelstrom, though, also was exhausted. So what are you to do? You know, exhaust Broken Summoner spell. Get this stuff gone. We don't need it anymore in the game.
Especially
yeah, exactly. Honestly, the fact that it's in ARAM is a crime. Bot lane tower will fall here. Has more gold in the pocket of TOF, so macro not necessarily been too poor this game in terms of getting some of the standing gold into their pocket. You can actually see, like, mid lane tier 1 is still standing for them, so they're doing a great job at keeping their last line of defense here until they start losing a whole lot of map control. So good stuff coming out from TOF, despite some mishaps in the top lane early, and also this Ezreal kind of getting a lead, up quite a bit of CS on top of his kill lead here. But we actually saw in that last fight, right, like how much of a struggle it was for them to actually get on top of the Ezreal. He's in the Cataclysm, and what happens? He immediately arcane shifts out of it, and is just free hitting Nevzat the whole time. So, you know, this Ezreal might go sicko mode in one more item. Keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled, because this Ezreal could be make or break here for Hextech hackers, as Grussel kind of not been able to find that, like, crazy Slicing Maelstrom team fight, as Himmel's dead, I think.
Yeah, I mean, does have the flash, but I think Nissa is just going to wait it out. There's the Cataclysm to catch. Here's the Grand Starfall, though, and actually the Realm Warp will save the Rise for now. Hero's entrance onto Jarvan to keep them alive a little bit, but Kennen is getting CC'd and is cut down by Bandit, and that is the main part of your engage for the hackers, as they just get torn apart in the bot side. It looked good, and then it didn't, and then it looked good again, and they found 2 members of the hackers. Nicely done.
Yeah, look at this great usage of the Realm Warp here, but look at Grussel. Like, he is all by himself in a 1v4, essentially. Kind of an issue with their comp, right, is they actually don't really have a lot of, like, members to distract TOF. So the kid actually can just very easily get focused down, especially in a really rough position like that. He opts to TP into the middle of them because they thought they would maybe commit a little bit harder, but it was really, really, really respectful play coming out from TOF that ends up giving them their second Drake of the game, number 4 in total of this game 1. So we're still a while away from a soul. Ezreal, again, still without a third item here. Was able to put out quite a bit of damage there, and again, was completely untouched. Which is, again, I think an issue that TOF will need to solve rather quickly, because the timer is kind of not on their side. Yes, they have Gwen and things like that, but again, you're playing against an Ezreal who your comp really does poorly at dealing with.
Definitely. And I mean, speaking of items here, there actually is the third item for the Ezreal as well. But I think we're seeing a lot of our main carries have some decent items here. 2 items on the Kennen, 2 items on the Gwen. Even the Jarvan has 2.5 now with the BF sword in inventory. And this is really good. Both teams have a lot of strengths right now. And even after that last play was pretty favorable towards the Devils, we're still like, less than 1,000 gold difference between these two teams. Both have 2 dragons. It's pretty even. Baron's up, but it really will come down to these team fights at the end of the day. And I think that they've both so far had really solid macro play, kind of like you were pointing out earlier, which has led them to be in a pretty solid state, even despite having some shortcomings for both teams so far.
Yeah, specifically, I think for Hextech hackers is they really need this mid tier 1 to fall. Like, that is the one thing that is causing them so many problems in terms of like trying to play around these side lanes, because TOF for the most part can kind of just be incredibly relaxed in how they want to play their side lanes, because you can always kind of just pull members around the map because you still have your mid lane tier 1. So you can play off of mid lane and then rotate around to prevent any kind of these side lane plays from happening. As Baron being postured around here, just for vision at the moment. Rise will take a teleport back, does get his actualizer finished up. Something that's missing from this Kennen build is notably a Zhonya's. There is no Zhonya's here. In fact, opting for the Shadow Flame, I'd imagine this Blasting Wand is going to be turning into a Void Staff thanks to the Galio and the Merc Treads he's facing against, so can't say I'm happy.
Bold move here from the Jarvan, going right into the Cataclysm with the Kennen, trying to just stop that threat before it starts, as he does actually invest the Maelstrom and will just go down before this fight even really gets going. There's a nice bubble taking down the enemy jungler as well. This could be a Baron look for the Devils.
Should easily be Baron, and Grussel holding on for Flash for so long, and then flashes and then turns back around. Like, I'm not quite sure what is happening with this Kennen, but look at this. Holds Flash for so long, goes to ult. Does not a whole lot of damage, but look, he flashes so late here that the Gwen gets here. And instead of trying to run away, he actually stops there and dies to the Gwen, but this Kennen pick was doing so great against the Gwen early, but now it is really struggling, especially Nevzat on that J4 has constantly been there to punish it time and time again, and now this Kennen with no flash is another target, as Baron was picked up here by TOF, which is going to be a bit hard for them to deal with. Rise, their best wave clear. That's about it in terms of good wave clear that they have. Unless you're gonna, rip a slicing maelstrom on the wave.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a weird game state now, because there is a pretty clear advantage for TOF at this point. They got the Baron, they won that fight. And one thing I'll point out in that last team fight is it kind of just started off of a whim. Pros wasn't even there. Like, when that fight was already over, the Ezreal was just walking up to that tier 2 tower. Hamal teleported in, but you can't really DPS if you don't have any frontline, and your kind of main flank burst tool in Grussel was already down. So it's just like a little bit of disconnection there, kind of unable to find their footing in that team fight, but now opting to try and get some side lane pressure. But with Baron, I think we know who's going to win that side lane pressure battle.
Also, you can actually see the Ezreal taking so much damage from the Hollow Radiance and also the skews. He's getting outpoked by Galio.
Yeah.
Really not ideal here. Himmel is pushing in this top lane. Gwen is immune, so won't really matter. They will ultimately lose Soul Point as well off of the back of this Baron. The loser bot tier 2, and Hextech hackers were looking like they were in such a good position. Rise utilizing the actualizer there on the top side, not able to find the Gwen, who dashes away to safety. But look at what they're giving up here, right? Like, the Rise delayed backing here. They lost their bot tier 2. Now they're mid tier 2. It kind of feels like TOF are just slowly suffocating Hextech hackers out of this game because they just simply made a couple mistakes, specifically, this Kennen, who I thought was in a really prime position to start taking over this game, but has kind of been the blueprint for TOF to get themselves in a winning position, and at this point, a commanding one, game state-wise. Also, 3k gold up ahead, so not the craziest thing. It's basically an item advantage for one person on their team. But regardless, it is still a lead nonetheless, and game state-wise tells a whole different story for TOF, as they are for sure in the lead.
Yeah, they're trying to pressure this advantage, get more of these towers dead. They already took down tier 2 bot, they took down tier 2 mid, so the only tier 2 tower standing is in the top side. But the question I'll ask you is, what do the hackers do now? Like, do you just look for more plays? Do you wait for them to overextend? Like, how do they get back into this game? As maybe no time to answer that. As look at this Kennen, just one shot with the Chains of Corruption Winter, trying to get back in, and actually they are striking back just a little bit. Ezreal does pick up the shutdown here onto the top laner of the Devils, as this turret should be going down. But so far, a 1 for 2. Galio
nice
gets a double taunt. That is a huge actually shutdown with the Aegis Assault, manages to stay alive on the Pantheon. This is the type of fights that I was expecting, as Prone doing so much damage now. Flash forward as the GOAT takes down Prone. Now flipped on the wrong side of the rift is the mid-jungle duo from the hackers. They're trying to get out now, and that was a much closer fight. What do you make of that, Aussie?
I don't think it's that close if this poor Yordle in the top lane is not insta-killed again. Hextech hackers are really struggling to keep this Kennen alive, and that's where I kind of head scratch my head. Or, well, obviously I'm head scratching my head. That's what happens when you scratch your head, regardless. Head scratching at the Shadow Flame here, right? If this is Zhonya's, you can buy yourself so much more living time as the Kennen, so you don't just get one shot like this, going for a more greedy build path or damage-oriented focus, but you are now 3 and 8 on this Kennen. You've yet to make really strong impact across any of the team fights so far in this game, that if you simply had just teched into Azanya's or even an arm guard, right, like maybe in one of these plays, you could have been able to utilize the stasis and at least get your ult off. But there, for the Hextech hackers, that doesn't happen. Grussel gets one shot, and they're forced to play numbers down. Great play from the Chosen Goat to stop that from becoming much worse. The Ezreal was kind of gliding there for a minute, but I said they kind of might have lacked damage here with the Galio, but the Galio is, well, he doesn't really care all that much about my opinion.
And Prone getting some poke damage here. And we're getting to the point where, I was mentioning it in the mid game, but even more so here, we have a lot of items on these carries. It doesn't really matter if you have 5 deaths on Gwen. If you have 3.5 items, it doesn't really matter. If you, haven't had a lot of impact on the Rise, if you have 4 items. So, maybe it's looking good here as the Realm Warp will get them all out of there once again. Nice play there. Because that looked very, very dangerous there for a second for the Rise.
Yes, I was so scared. He was able to Realm Warp out in just the nick of time. Able to wave clear now, but Baron is up as the Drake. Well, they do find Prone in the mid lane.
Prone. Yeah, does dodge the Chain of Corruption, but has to use the Arcane Shift early. Trying to start the fight once again, but there's so much damage on both sides now. But look at this Gwen. She is immune, and she can just stand there and take down your support. Pantheon trying to get something done on the other side, but this fight is looking toward the Devils. But here is the engage, potentially, that they've been looking for all game. The Kennen will take down one after wasting those resources, but it doesn't do enough. This Gwen is so strong, but actually will take them down. I thought that it was over for sure, but Grussel manages to live this time. Prone now in some danger as they actually strike back. That's a 2 for 2, even though the hackers have been down most of this mid game.
Yeah, issue now though is they don't really have HP to contest this Drake. Soul here for TOF, and it's been hard enough for them to win as Hextech hackers any fight. There.
Oh,
actually, Himmel goes in.
Damage with the rise is pretty good, but now you're just in the way of the Galio. Just CC'd to death there for the rise, as they are still looking for the contest. As, oh my god, blast code right into the middle of the team. You may have delayed the soul, but it cost you your 2 damage carries. What are you thinking, hackers?
Look, I get it. You're like, man, I don't know if we can win a fight with the soul. We're already struggling, but maybe just let your Ezreal poke before you do anything crazy like that.
Yeah.
Like, there will be soul here for TOF as they walk towards Baron here, but this fight is so close again. Look, Russell not able to actually connect on the backline here, just barely.
It's so good.
It was a good defense from Chosen Goat, as, you know, Galio been putting a whole lot of work into this game. As we go to live, Baron now is here. Carries are spawning up, Realm Warp is available, but this Baron should just be gone, as no one here is going to be able to get through this Galio anytime soon, as Pantheon eats a whole lot of damage. There it is, Baron going the way towards TOF, as that's expected. They're gonna back, get some gold, and look to close out this game. 37 minutes in now, as it has been a back and forth one. Now, of course, I really want to see Grussel have that impact in one of these fights that I feel like is lacking. Last fight, he was able to somewhat have it, but that was shut down by Goat. Could have been able to connect on multiple more members had the Galio not knocked him up out of his engage there. But it is do or die time now here for Hextech hackers in game 1. Looking down Baron and Soul. Of course, they have a long time before another objective spawn. But if TOF can't end, maybe Elder is a good spot for them. Trying back.
Yeah, I think Elder will be the end either way, but having the Baron right now does allow a lot of pressure for TOF. They can push it. They already took down all these towers, so it's mostly about whether or not they can get a pick and break open the base, as those arrows hit very hard at this stage of the game. So having to be careful of that poke, you know, no sustained healing like the Nami on the side of the hackers. This base defense is kind of the last stand, as the Chains of Corruption will land onto a Maul, just burst down and taken down by Bandit. And that is the pick that they're looking for, as they could push into the base now. This fight can be really good. Just about whether or not hackers can get that counter engage.
Well, Rise being such a big damage threat, being dead immediately like that, is slash. Nice arcane shift coming through.
Yeah, I mean, the Goat is getting low now, actually. Has to go golden. Would be the first death of the game for the Galio. Just kind of crazy. But on the other side, it looks like the game should just be over, as Bandit picks up 2 men to survive against Prone for now. And that will be game 1 over there. Kind of anticlimactic, flipping over on the cameras at the end there. But that one pick was really all they needed. And congratulations to the Devils, taking game 1 of this series. A little bit long, but you got there.
Hey, it happens, and also you have to look at this game. They did not have a great early game start, right? The Ezreal's 2-0. Kennen is winning the top lane, but Nevzat on the J4 shuts down the Kennen. Kennen maybe also with maybe some itemization optimization issues. And, well, the Chosen Goat on the Galio is just, ties it all up. Nice little pretty present as a gift for TOF there. I mean, really well played here. Yes, Bandit had a whole lot of damage. That's Poke Varus, but for me, the Chosen Goat actually is the highlight of this game. Like, he had so many impactful moments. Like, initially, the first Varus dive, he's there right on time to trade to get them back that kill. And then you're looking at he stops Grussel's engage, which could have turned around that entire fight. And he's deathless this game on the Galio, despite having incredible impact. It's not like he was shying away from these fights. Also, when the team fight in top lane was not going his way, he ends up sneaking into the bush and then flash engaging and killing the Ezreal by himself. So that's my MVP, at least for game one, because yeah, that was just a solid Galio performance. Also, look at the damage. This is a full tank Galio minus the Rabadons plus Zhonya's, if you want to consider Zhonya's. Also the Riftmaker, but Riftmaker more of a bruiser item. But still, a lot of damage coming from Galio when he's building a Warden's or whatever that is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only people out damaging the Galio were both of the AD carries. So I think that's kind of expected, but definitely shows of a good game there for Le Chosen Goat. Definitely my MVP too. You know, I wanted to give it to Nevzat. You know, did a lot of great stuff on the Jarvan there, especially in the early game, kind of made sure that the game was in a playable state. But definitely kind of the game deciding plays were made by the Galio. So definitely a lot of credit given to me there, and hopefully we can see a little more maybe from Grussel, maybe from Crone in these next games, which I also think looked very good at different points in the game for the Hackers. But they're gonna have to step it up, or it will be basically the end of their playoffs run, depending on some crazy stuff. So Hackers definitely hoping for a game number 3, as I think we will head into a break before the game number 2 draft. We'll have to see if they can punch back, but either way, we'll see you in Champ Select when we get back.
全マーケットは迅速な発送ですぐにお届けします。あ、ボクセット？
大丈夫？
でも直接来てくれたの？これって
漫画みたいだったね。
しかも今衣装着てるし、花でもあれば完璧なのに。
完璧だよ。壊れ物だから自分で届けたかったんだ。
あなたって完璧。ありがとう、全マーケット。
All right, here is game number 2. Do or die for the hackers. Definitely a good look for the Devils if they're able to take this 2-0. That will push them into a very good spot for playoffs. But first, bans out the Mbessa once again. We saw the Silas ban last game too. These are all looking pretty familiar to me. As is this the Devils once again on blue side? Or were they on red last time? I think they were still on blue.
They were on
right?
blue.
Yeah, same side.
They were on blue. Now again, I think here for TOF, if you're going to change anything from last game, it's definitely just having a smoother early game, right? Because you don't want your bot lane to get double killed early, right? You don't want your top laner to go down 30 CS like in 2 minutes. That's what you should be thinking about as TOF. For Hextech hackers, they definitely need better cohesion and better like map movements, because that mid tier 1 was really a bit of an issue, and something we've seen be very popular in ACL is actually the Ashe Seraphine, where you're first picking the Ashe. If you're first pick, they have first selection, side selection, whatever it's called. Anyways, so whoever is first pick, regardless, has been first picking the Ashe, and it has been looking quite well, dare I say. So, we'll see if we do get that Ashe Seraphine. Hextech hackers could also deny that. That's something that's also kind of popular. But we talked a bit about the Viari, and perhaps Hextech hackers might be opting in for that one right. Nope, it's Aurora.
Actually,
Aurora also
Aurora. Yeah, definitely also a good way to burst down whoever used the cease and desist on. So that's definitely a good combo here. You know, I'm not sure if the top laner plays it, but Aurora, you know, has been a common top lane flex too, depending on what that matchup could be. But definitely Vi, high priority. I think it does just give you a really easy way to say, you know, we're going to kill this person, we're going to engage on this person. It's a great way to have catches on side lane too, which I kind of wish that both teams had tried to do more in that game number 1. So definitely a good way to promote that, as it will be the Seraphine, as you talked about, as the lane partner for the Ashe. Definitely a strong, high priority bot duo right now. And now they'll either have to match the Vi or try to guess where the Aurora is going and match that.
Well, something that's actually been kind of an issue for the Seraphine Ashe duo is actually some sort of Nico lane, because Nico actually gets so much kill threat on them that it kind of shuts it down. And one of the strengths of Ashe Seraphine is the lane dominance, similar to Caitlyn. But hey, Malphite coming through, flexible in the jungle, of course. But see, obviously Silas kind of unpickable here, because they did lock in their jungler plus support. But it will be the Nautilus, which can do well, but it does struggle early, which, you know, kind of sucks if you're the support player. You're like, man, I want to play the game, but you're kind of locked out of the lane for a little bit. But you do have a lot of kill threat here, but TOF can actually ban away some really strong AD carries here. Things like the Kai'Sa, which does kind of struggle on the range, but with the Kai'Sa Nautilus, you can get a lot of burst damage out. You know, also you could take away things like the Caitlyn, which kind of mitigates some of the range issues. We'll see what they opt for. Sivir as well, right? Being able to use Spell Shield, but the Spell Shield threat here, I think, is going to be too high from TOF to really justify picking something like the Sivir.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I'm a little surprised to see the Nautilus. I mean, maybe it's just like a weird quirk of mine, but when I see a Seraphine or some like shield-heavy ADC like Karma, if I'm picking an engaged support, my first thought's the Rel. You know, you can break the shields, you can have like a really good kind of follow-up engage. You know, Nautilus is a good fight starter, but Rel is almost like a dive buddy, like the Rakan with a Vi. So interesting support pickup there, but Nautilus is just always good. You know, he really good at catching out the Ashe, really good at catching the Seraphine, does give you some kill threat in lane, kind of similar to the Nico that you were talking about. So if you want to try and look for bot lane and punish the Ashe Seraphine, you know, having CC tools is the first place to start.
Yes.
As it is double AD carry bans, as you were talking about for the Devils, Corki and Kai'Sa taken away. So we'll have to see what they want into the Ashe here on R4.
Yeah, I think specifically here for Hextech, they need to find a AD carry that just, well, we're just gonna scale. Why not? Might as well. But this does kind of hurt your Nautilus pick a bit, right? Because your Nautilus is not gonna have a good lane, and one of his few outs is kill threat in the lane, right? Like if he does connect, as long as you can follow up with it really well, right, then, you know, it's really hard and uncomfortable for the Ashe Seraphine to play against. But with something like a Smolder, you won't really have that. Now the Vi into the Ahri is actually really good for like kind of both, right? You can kind of shut down the Ahri, but specifically for the Ahri, as the Ahri player, if you get ganked by Ahri, or by Vi, excuse me, you can just Spear Rush to your tower. So it's really hard to gank you post 6, so you don't really need to worry. You also have some mobility to get away from the Aurora should she try to go on top of you. And of course the Zehen is great into lower range comps, albeit this comp from Hextech, not necessarily the lowest range comp we've ever seen, but definitely could be a bit of a nuisance here, because if the Aurora does like choose to like ult herself into the backline, right, well, with the Zehen standing right there, right, it's going to put a lot of pressure. But we have the Darken v Darken top lane making an appearance.
Yeah, I'm assuming it will be the Malphite in the jungle there, as Zehen also could go into the jungle, but interesting flexes there. Will be the Aatrox R5. Speaking of the Smolder, you know, can have some kill threat. Like if you're gonna run this and you're gonna try and have the Nautilus have like enough value, I would want to see our Vi doing what we saw Jarvan do last game. You know, just like spamming onto one lane, trying to get those kills, trying to get that pressure. So we'll see if that jungle pressure can really have an effect. That's kind of what I'm looking for, especially since Malphite on the other side is one of those kind of level 6 junglers. You know, won't be doing a lot in the early game, could leave the Ashe Seraphine a little bit vulnerable. So that's probably what I'll be keeping my eye on here in the early game.
For me, like, my question mark is about the Smolder pick, right? Because obviously they decided to pick it into the Ashe Seraphine with the Nautilus. How many stacks are you going to be able to get this lane? Like, realistically, walking forward for you can just end up being a death sentence to try and, you know, get some of these stacks from your queue onto champions. Obviously, through the minions, it's fine, but of course, you want to be able to trade, so you want to be able to use your abilities. So I worry maybe a little bit here for Hextech that the Smolder might be a little bit late on his dragon training stacks. So, you know, How to Train Your Dragon. Great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it, recommend. Yes, it's a kid's movie, but it's still great to watch. But overall, I would say I'm looking out for the Smolder, kind of the X factor in just about any draft, of course, but I think specifically for here, because they did put draft stock into it, I want to see just what it can get done.
Definitely. And I mean, you know, I think a great way to win a game, especially if it's a close game, is to have a Smolder. You infinitely scale, you get the execute later. So if you think it's going to be a close game, if you think that you have a chance to kind of pull it towards that late game, like we saw in game number 1 with the hackers, definitely can be an asset. So we'll see what they're able to do with that. But what is your dragon prediction for game number 2? We were both wrong in the first one, but we have another chance here. We can do it.
All right, I'm gonna go with a good old Mountain Soul, because we got a mountain in the rift.
Okay, yeah.
Malphite.
Yeah, I like that
mountain, you know.
I'll go Cloud Soul. I think it'd be funny to watch a 900 MS Malphite run around too. You use the ultimate, you run around in the middle of their team. Ahri running
fair.
around with the ultimate.
Yeah, that's fair.
Spirit Rush.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But I think we're going to go to a break here before the second game starts. So we'll see you on the Rift then. Thank you. All right, welcome to Summoner's Rift for the second game here between the Devils and the Hackers. We got Cleanse on our Smolder. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense, right? Ash Seraphine, you have to deal with Enchanted Crystal Arrow, of course the Ash plus the Seraphine beat drop, combination. Being able to just insta-stun off of it, pretty annoying. Encore, so many good issues, I think, with that overall. Of course. Now, I will say that, again, for me, my eyes are going to be on the Smolder. How well is he going to be able to stack? That's the question. Anytime a Smolder is in the game, how well is he able to stack? This game might be a bit difficult due to the lane matchup. Good trade from Grussel there.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be difficult here in the bot side. We were talking about the Nautilus. Winter doing a good job so far of just preserving that health. Maybe being able to do something once we get Smexy towards the bot side, is able to go for kind of those ganks I was talking about in Champion Select. And it is the Zehen definitely ruling the top of the Rift here so far. As nice double stun there, or root rather. But kind of the lane priority that I was expecting so far, The Devils definitely have a lot of pressure to play with here in the early game. So we'll see if they can make some use of it.
See if can do something. Nice little stun though, showcasing what I was talking about. But overall, I think Hextech Hackers are on a long way up here, as both the Aatrox and the Smolder need time. Aatrox obviously needs less time in matchups.
Ooh. Forcing out the flash follow from Hamal and gets the first blood, but does go down as actually Aatrox Grussel getting some payback on the top side there for kind of underperforming at the end of that game number 1. As we have some fighting here in the bot side too. We didn't even curse anything this game. We just get a bloody one for fun.
We just get one for completely free. Of course, M600 loves to fight. In the top lane, I think Grussel finds a kill thanks to the Ignite. As you can see, it's on cooldown, but I want to say that Zehen actually ended up taking a tower shot there. Bot lane Scuttle will go over to Smexy here on the Vi, but is definitely losing this 1v1.
And there's the Cleanse coming in handy too, as Bandit trying to look for a kill here on the bot side, and they really are just fighting all over the Rift so far. It is very rough for the bot lane of the Hackers right now. I think that will be definitely a pain point here. As you could look towards some kill threat here. You have the Vi on the bot side. After that clears, the Charm connects. Hamal getting dangerously low. One more auto should do it. There it is, as the GOAT having a great game number 2 start so far, as the flash invested from Ash trying to survive. But here's the flash follow from Smexy, as the Ignite will take over for the kill onto the Ash. 3 low health bars, but nothing this poor Singer can do really to try and take anything back, as the Hackers find a kill on the bot side, but the Devils strike back in the mid lane.
Yeah, I was not gonna lie, I kind of was worried, because then I saw the mana. Ooh, fortunately from Grussel there, does miss the Q3.
Oh wow, gets back. Might be in some danger here. Flash out is necessary there from the Zehen, but now you're kind of in some danger here. Still having the flash on Grussel means that you can just walk away for now. And this is what I was kind of talking about with Malphite. You're definitely having some impact, but you're not really good until level 6. But here's a fight actually will go down to Grussel. Knows the limits of the Aatrox, and it sucks when you're on a ward and you don't know it.
Oh no.
Oh my god, we'll take down the second one too. MVP on the top side for the Hackers so far.
What is going on? I'm so baffled. Like, I don't know in what world you're ever getting that with, Kandarik not even being remotely closed. Regardless, it pays off big time here for this Aatrox, who now has 3 kills. Granted, Grussel also with a lead last game on the Kennen. Unable to really convert that into anything meaningful last game. So, this game might be a bit of a different story. As, unlike the Kennen game, he's actually deathless so far. So hasn't traded back any of the kills, back towards himself. Hook will land in the bot lane.
Yeah, that's a really good hook there. But, without an ADC that does damage, it's a little hard to look for any kills there. As, the kills that Hextech have been able to grab, definitely a good acceleration into the mid game that you were talking about. Aatrox normally takes some time to come online, but when you're gifted 3 kills, it probably won't take very long. Actually managing to keep up on the CS here is prone on the Smolder, as we have a little bit of a fight here towards the mid lane. There's Between Worlds, so much damage onto the Malphite, does not even have the unstoppable force yet, so unable to really trade anything back here. Will be a kill over to the Goat on Ari. Those resets. Look at the Ashe Seraphine too. Bandit is here. It looked really good for the hackers, but they just overstayed. You can't do anything. You used all your resources at the beginning of the fight, and Devils do trade back. Good fight. As actually, the fighting on the top side never ends. Grussel is unstoppable with this Darken champion.
All right, well, take a look here. Himmel's out of mana and just goes too far forward, and they're completely ignoring Goat. This is a great pinch play, and Goat does so much damage here. Nice charm as well onto Smexy. And they just simply run this one down. Winter sacrificing himself to get his AD carry out. As, top lane is becoming a bit of a problem here for TOF. But overall, it's once again Goat making that really impactful play as the mid laner here to get things going and rolling for TOF, because that team fight kind of looked doomed because they got the initial pick there, but it just simply didn't matter. Goat was able to put out so much more damage than the Aurora because of the mana issue. And also Himmel, again, putting himself in a pretty weird spot there with the Between Worlds, but overall, pretty even trades going around, unless you're in the top lane, where Kendark is really struggling on this ahead.
Definitely. I mean, we see the Darken battle going very one-sided towards the Aatrox right now. Both junglers paying attention more towards the top side right now. Chemtech Dragon is up and available on the bot side. We got level 6 on both of our junglers now, so that could be pretty impactful for some ganks here soon, but Bandit just using that lethal tempo, stacking it up here. There's the Enchanted Crystal, but the immediate cleanse is really good. And here's Mom, here's the Encore. Bandit is really low as Winter flashes forward. The heal is great there from Arkham as Winter actually will go down, but Bandit getting dangerously low will go down to the Between Worlds. Maul takes the trip backwards. I don't know if that's what you were intending to do, but here's the Goat. Prone stands no chance, trying to trade one back, but is unable to do so. And this Ari has been there at the perfect time every time so far.
Oh, another one maybe.
Not over yet. Charm into the root, but actually Arkham will be the one going down as Hamal lives to see another day. A little bit too far forward for the support on the side of the Devils.
Really close there, but again, it's always kind of this like head-scratching overstay from Hextech hackers that, well, speaking of overstays, Goat won't be one of those casualties. Hextech hackers, though, again, one of their biggest issues that plagued them last game is they're overstaying, and this game we see it come through once more, where this mid laner for TOF is just always there at the right times when he needs to be, and picks up another kill. 4-2-2 now on the Ahri, and Bandit also able to find a kill before he goes down as well, so really good stuff here from TOF, because the pressure has been on the bot side of the map here for them, but it hasn't mattered. Dredgeline will miss, meaning they're able to walk away here from the gang. First Drake hasn't fallen, won't be the Chemtech soul like last game, so we are still in the running. Granted, this is a really late dragon, 10 minutes here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard. You have the priority here from Bandit and Arkan in the bot lane, but with a level 6 jungler like the Malphite, you don't really have a lot of ways to pick and then push for the dragon. So not a lot you can do with that pressure unless you do find kind of a good fight like we saw in the river before. But Yeah, definitely a late dragon play as the Spirit Rush will come out here onto the goat, trying to look for something. Between Worlds is still available, is used by Hamal, but actually doesn't connect. Here's Cease and Desist, but you're kind of by yourself for the Vi. Here's the Smolder coming in here, might be able to pick up a kill, does pick up Nevzat, and that is definitely good to get some gold and stacks. As the flash comes out from Bandit, they're trying to look forward, but you did use most of your resources to get that first kill, and it will just be one over to make that 2 over to the hackers as another solo kill in the top lane. This is even worse than game 1.
Well, that is the Cyclo Sword finished already for the Aatrox. He dashes in to the edge there of, I think it was the Q2. I'm unsure if that was Q2 or Q3, but mistake here in the top side. Zehen is down so much at this point. And also Drake on the board. Infernal Soul won't be that one either, so we're still here. All right, we're still ready. We all could be right here. We could be right. All right, Himmel in this mid lane though, kind of not able to finish this Ahri off alone, but mistake from Nevzat, who had a pretty good J4 game last game, but this game on the Malphite has really been not all that great, especially after what happened top lane. The whole reason this Aatrox is as far ahead as he is, mind you, is because Nevzat had a catastrophic mistake. Now this Aatrox is up 2 levels, which is just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, as they trying to look forward here, but Winter misses that dredge line. You know, it is kind of more of an even game state now. The slight gold lead is still to the hackers, but I think it's more about what fights you take. As the Ignite actually is coming through, they're investing a lot onto Arkham here and will take down the Seraphine, but now the Sleep Tempo is stacked. This Ashe is dangerous. Here's Bandit with the 1v2. You used all your resources to kill the support, and you will get slain by the first pick Ashe. Nicely done for the Devils.
Yeah, this Ashe, oh well, the Ashe is unfortunately going to pass away here.
Is available. So it should just be a point and click if you can get to it. There it is, and it will be Bandit taken down. Nice pickup there, but wish you were there a little bit earlier if you're the Vi.
Yeah, but of course able to get the kill nonetheless. But take a look back at this play here. Again, you're playing, Nautilus Smolder, so your Smolder is doing pretty okay in terms of stacking right now. Does decent damage, but is the Seraphine ever killing you? The answer is no, and Bandit will just happily re-hit the entire time there. Now Himmel in danger.
Here's the Unstoppable Force onto the Aurora. Does still have the flash available. Should be able to get out of this, as the shutdown actually will go over to Nevzat. Flash not invested there. Not sure what was going on, but no Between Worlds, and we'll just go down in the mid lane there for the hackers.
Maybe thought with the Merc Treads you'd be able to just walk away from the charm, but the very edge of the charm catches. Chosen Goat will actually miss the charm and the Q there onto Winter. Granted, they are not killing that guy regardless, but I guess it's the thought that counts. A little bit of poke damage here as we're looking for this Drake timer to come down. As this top lane is...
Oh my god!
Ooh, he actually leveled up.
And both ultimates invested, but the level up will save Kendrick's life for now. But I have not seen a top lane matchup as brutal as this, I think, in a while. Maybe besides, I think it was week 2 or 3 where we had a very one-sided top lane series. I can't remember the teams, but you often don't hear a lot about top lane, so I like that we're kind of seeing a lot here. But besides the Aatrox, I do think that both mid laners have been doing a lot of carrying this game so far. A lot of kills onto the Aurora. Hamal has been doing a lot of damage, as actually we're seeing
the bait. Oh, come on.
But here's the backup. Finally, you're getting a fair fight, and it gets turned, flipped on its head. We'll see the Resurrection will come out, and this should be the cease and desist and another kill over to Grussel. Just absolutely dominating as Flash is forced out of the Smolder on the bot side. Smexy flashes out of the way of that bounce back on the orb, but should just meet their demise
Nice
in the jungle. Charm lands for the shutdown. Nicely done, as Winter now alone on the bot side. And we have another very bloody rift on either side, but will be able to stay alive for now. More stacks over for the Smolder, and failed dive on the bot side for the Devils.
Yeah, they don't get anything back, but thankfully it's a 1-for-1 on the top side, and every time they invest a whole lot onto a... Oh, nice charm. That was actually pretty...
But here's Between Worlds. No Spirit Rush available for the Ahri. Means no escape right now. Will get chunked, but does stay alive. Not enough burst quite yet from this Aurora.
Back to my initial point is they're spending a lot of time and effort to keep punishing the Sahin, who is literally out of the game. Like, he's probably worth less than a cannon minion at this point. So investing as much as they have been, especially in that last play, on punishing the Zahen, you know, thankfully the bot play didn't work out here for TOF, but if it did, you know, they'd be the winning ones, and it will be Cloud. So there you go.
I was correct.
You're right.
Let's go.
Right.
I win another one.
You're catching up. You're catching up.
Yeah.
I still have my 3 right, but you are now two guesses yourself being correct, as mid lane tier 1 will fall here. Biggest, you know, opponent here, I think, for Hextech Hackers has definitely been Chosen Goat. He's certainly been the highlight for TOF. The Ahri's looking just as good as the Galio. Maybe just slightly a bit worse, because he does have some deaths here, but regardless, bot tier 1 as well will fall, and we kind of going back to what happened last game, right? Top lane gets a lead. Bot lane, though, for TOF, or like bot side of the Rift for TOF, is performing really well. And they start just choking them out by getting these early, like, towers. Now, the one thing is that Hextech Hackers have is the Smolder insurance, right? You do have that late game insurance, and they are also really far ahead in terms of the jungle objectives they take in this game. As they pick up the Herald, and also they're sitting on 2 Drakes. So both Drakes have gone their way. Hextech Soul, of course, definitely sought after by many teams. I'd imagine this game will be no different.
Yeah, I mean, look at this, like 3,000 individual gold lead basically on the top side there. So definitely a rough spot for the Devils on the top lane, as we will have an engage on Ash. Getting to Bandit is very crucial, as it will be the flash needed to get away there. Grussel trying to use this lead to their advantage and push the Hackers forward, as they will get all of them dangerously low, but no kills taken over on either side. The Rift Herald is spawned up here, so trying to crack their first mid lane tier 1 tower of the series, I will say.
Hey, they'll get it. They'll get it.
They get it here, which is definitely an improvement from game number 1. Taking the ride away is probably the right move, as that is definitely a win there for the Hackers.
They definitely, certainly invested for it. Spexy in a bit of danger, able to Vault Breaker over the wall, so not truly in danger, but bit of you know, thing that's happening is, in the meantime, Zahen yoinked himself a top tier 1, so... Yes, the Zahen is 0-5, okay, I get it, but again, we're kind of like reminiscing on what happened last game, right? Like, looking basically identical. Top lane gets behind early, you know, your bot lane, thankfully this time, didn't give up a double kill. The issue here, though, is the Smolder clock is ever ticking. The Aatrox is just going to get stronger from this point. The Aurora is already almost able to one-shot your backline with Proto Belt and an Alternator. So we have 185 stacks on the Smolder by our producer. So stacking incredibly well is, well, this ahead.
Flash is available, should be able to get out of here if you want to. Does use that Grim Deliverance just to get away, but those are the kind of plays I like to see with the Vi, and I really like that it's Hextech Hackers who are trying to push that play. You know, use your Aatrox. As Bandit walking up to contest the jungle here. They don't want any sort of invade shenanigans happening this time.
Yeah, well, the thing is, again, right, like, while it is definitely not necessarily a bad play to keep your Aatrox continuously getting more fed, you're doing it on a member who doesn't really give a lot of gold. Like,
Yeah.
the Zehen, it probably gives less gold than Arkham at this point in the game. Even though the levels, he's got 5 levels on his support, he probably gives less gold, which is kind of insane to think about, but regardless, like, every time you're trying to go for these plays on the sideline, they didn't use anything, so it ultimately doesn't matter all that much. But you're just giving more breathing time, right? Especially if the Zehen doesn't die. Even if the Zehen dies, you're showing 2 people topside. It allows for TOF to make a play that benefits them more on the other side of the map in the side lane. Aurora can be pretty slippery with Between Worlds, but teleport coming through early here from Grussel. And Dark also with the teleport.
Our first 5v5 fight here is you engage on the Malphite, but that's not necessarily what you want. That's actually a great knock up there, but that should be dead here. Here's the Between Worlds doing so much damage as Prone will take the first kill of the fight, but Grussel is going down. Your Aatrox, your gold lead is gone, as that is the main member of Hackers down. As here's Kendrick as well, uses the Grim Deliverance to go forward. Prone now in such a hard spot, stuck there, and will be taken down by Arkham. Pushing forward just a little bit, gets the pullback, but it is nicely buffered there. But the charm lands, and here's the GOAT carrying the end of that team fight. Nicely done from the Devil.
Bandit's positioning in this last team fight, hopefully we'll get a replay, but it's something I really want to touch on. He's playing it so well. Sure Nevzat goes down early, but it doesn't matter if you win the team fight, and when Grussel is your only big lead, does it really matter if they can just kill you in that manner? Will be Drake going the way towards TOF desperately when they need it, and also the fight really well played coming through from every member of TOF. Also a 3-man knock up with the Unstoppable Force from Nevzat sets up a really brilliant 3-man or 4-man encore as well. And the fight is so split, right? Which really for you know, Hextech Hackers doesn't favor them, right? They kind of want to deathball, but when it's all split up, it's not great. Ari works so well under that chaos, right? The Zehen also does pretty well in that chaos, despite him being very far behind. Of course, with the Smolder. Still stacking, though. That is the insurance that they have in their comp, is the Smolder can't go critical, but they're able to kill Grussel, right? So this is Grussel's first death. And that's a good sign here for TOF, as Bandit was able to not even utilize Flash in that fight. Completely untouched, as Nevzat will say hello to Smexy and easily win that trade.
I mean, you're just trying to use your pressure to your advantage at this point. You know, the gold lead is only 2,000, but this could be a pick onto Grussel here. Gets half health, and there's the Unstoppable Force from over the wall, just trying to burst down. The healing is good. Cease and desist on
Encore is so good, though.
Is pretty good. Encore on the other side. This is a very close fight. They take down the Ari. The Aatrox on the other side gets taken down. Now you don't have a lot of tools. Get onto Bandit. Bandit needs to be burst down if you're going to win this. Hextech Hackers take down the Ashe, that all-important target. Mexi now getting very low, is sustaining the fight so far. The shield, there it goes, is taken down by Nevzat on the backside, but now you have Aurora flash forward, gets Arkham on the other side. The hook is clean. Hackers strike back. They punish that pick that the Devils were looking for.
Yeah, it's actually just the healing coming through. Is, you know, 225 now completed by the Smolder. You can tell by the execute threshold there on the health bar, but it's actually Bandit, you know, utilizing his flash to get over the wall there instead of walking around. The fight happens so quickly. TOF allows this Aatrox with the Sundered Sky to heal so much HP. Same for Smexy as well in that fight, right? The Sundered Sky, unironic MVP here for Hextech Hackers, as they're saying we are not going to give up our lead that easily. As still bit of an issue here in the top lane. The Aatrox about 11,000 gold, so we're looking at, you know, 2,000 gold lead here for the Aatrox. But now that the Smolder has his stacks, these team fights here for TOF might very easily get worse and worse. Kendark looking onto Himmel.
You have 2 level lead on the enemy mid laner is pretty good, as Small now finds themselves in probably one of the weakest spots for the hackers right now. Definitely put in a lot of work in that last team fight, but that burst is still building. You still have more items to go. You want to stack up that Dark Seal. You want to be the one who can one-shot Bandit or Arkham if you get towards that back line. Definitely what you're looking for if you are the Aurora here. But I think this one's honestly even closer than we saw in the first game. First game was pretty back and forth for a while, but hackers really striking back in that last play. Next Dragon's in a minute. Baron's already up. I think they kind of have to just meet Devils where they're at. Try to find a good angle for your Smolder to play the fight, and basically do what you did last time, because that worked.
Yeah, one thing they have to avoid, right, if you're going to include like the Smolder, you need to meet Bull, right? Like, you can't be chaotic. You can't have your Aatrox getting caught out first, right? Because you put so much into this Malphite, who is just pure tank. Like, this is a pure tank Malphite. He has 3 armor items and a protoplasm harness. So, please, Lord, someone help this man take damage, because it definitely won't be majority of Hextech hackers. But again, execute threshold here for prone will help a little bit with that burn. Max health damage. Now, Bandit and Arkham. What can they get done? No flash here for the Ashe. Nevzat. This teleport is actually disastrous.
Ooh, yeah, Kendrick could just be disastrous in the dead in the middle of the team here. Will go down as the first one to prone, but look at the other side. We have Resurrection in coming from Smexy on the other side, and this tanky Malphite is tanky no more, as they will get another kill for the Smolder. That execute coming in clutch, triple kill for the hackers, as they just wiped over that fight. That teleport was not the move.
I am so confused. I have no words. I have no words. Like, he teleports himself into 5. Like, in what world does this ever a go button? Nevzat just tries to buy space and time for his team here, but Chosen Goat also tries to get this kill, but it's a nice hook from Winter there to stop it. Baron towards Hextech hackers, and I think our curse continues here, Boss Kitty, where he might be staring down the face of another 3-game series as Hextech hackers position themselves with this Baron, and perhaps Soul Point, but it's looking like they are going to utilize some teleports to at least prevent that from happening on the side of 2F, but they're leaving the base quite quickly here. I do think they're going to have a little bit too much DPS for this to get gone, so they should be able to get this Drake, so no Soul Point. Best case scenario for TOF after the fact of a disastrous team fight. But you still have to deal with Baron and a Smolder who, well, his time was ticking. It's still ticking and continues to tick as Nevzat, well, showcases just how much damage he doesn't take.
Yeah, definitely a masterclass there. Not really taking much, if anything. What they did take was just healed back up. It's now hackers on the front foot, I think, for basically the first time in the series. They have the Baron, they have to push. The question is whether or not they can use it as well as we saw Devils use it. There's still a lot of towers standing here. So I think before you try to take another fight, before you try and push and overextend to end the game, you should just kind of, systematically take down the towers like we saw the Devils do. And that's what I'm really going to be keeping my eye on in the next couple minutes here. It's actually Flash Unstoppable Force to try and catch prone, but the flash response from the Smolder will keep them safe.
And great reaction for prone. Prone on the Ezreal last game was doing pretty well, but on the Smolder doing even better. Also his build path, right? It's actually giving him so much extra survivability here with the QSS now. It doesn't necessarily need to be crutched on the cleanse. So, You get to be able to remove more CC, which is great. Endless Hunger, of course, giving the Omni Vamp. But all this HP he's going to be able to build naturally here due to his build path. It's going to give him so much added survivability. Going to make picking him out so much harder in these fights. Cleanse is back, so he has both Cleanse and QSS for this next fight. Although no Flash. So, and you can't Cleanse Malphite Ultimate. Which is, I guess, the biggest thing you're going to have to worry about as a Smolder. Bot lane. Dark. Oh, they do get the World Ender.
Yep, there's the World Ender coming out, but here's Between Worlds on the other side. They're looking for Bandit. They almost catch it, but the Ashe managed to stay alive for now. Smexy getting down very low as the front line. Is here.
Get
the kill. Let's go. Right back from the Devils. That is the overextension I was worried about for the Hackers, as the GOAT trying to push forward almost goes down on the other side of this. But yeah, you have to be so careful with these Baron pushes nowadays. If one goes down, if you find a bad angle, if you walk just a little bit too far, it can prove disastrous, and that's exactly what we saw here.
But like, look, why are they playing for this, right? Like, if you look at the minimap during this, their bot wave isn't even shoved in under tower yet. They just go in so far, but look at Goat. He is just so insane. He does so much work here. Chases down. Unfortunately, he does miss some abilities there. Could have cleaned up the Aurora as well, but Goat just wants it more for TOF. Like, he is the star.
He is the GOAT. No. As we have another team fight here. Grussel looking for the enemy support. Actually will get it with the Ignite here. Uses the World Ender, but it is not enough to keep them alive. So you trade top laner for support. It's not a great look for the Hackers, but you get something. As Between Worlds. This is a little bit of an extended play. The Hackers want something. Smexy tanking it up. Uses the Cease and Desist, but the CC immune from the Zehen is very nice here. Ticking down. Execute will come through. That is 2 resurrections simultaneously, but it should just be the top laner of the Devils who goes down.
Yeah, bad death timer here as well. He doesn't have teleport. 50 seconds. Soul point spawning in. TOF will not have their top laner for this Drake fight, whereas Hunter... Hextech Hackers, excuse me, will. I look at HXH and I was thinking about Hunter x Hunter. My bad, team. My bad. The Hextech Hackers, right? They will have this Aatrox, for this fight, and it's going to be really impactful because, yes, the Zehen is 1-7, was 1-6 before his death there, but he's still able to provide space, buy some time for his backline, for GOAT to start picking at some of the weaknesses of this backline of Hextech Hackers. They won't have that 7 seconds. Now, if they can stall, great, right? But he's going to have to run back here. Going to take him a little bit. Does have the home guards. But it doesn't seem like the Drake is going to be pulled on spawn here. So Kendark, despite a ill-timed death, is going to be able to make himself down to this Drake fight. As man, look at all the pings on the mini map there. They are so ready for this team fight.
They are. I mean, it kind of all comes down to this, if you're the Devils, this really solidifies you getting back into the game, and if you're the Hackers, this is basically like your game win if you're able to get this. It isn't soul, but it will be soul point for whoever takes it. As Winter, is the front line right now, is getting chunked, has to get out for now. On the other side, we have this Aatrox, this all-important member for the Hackers. Here's the Between Worlds. Here's the chunk onto the back line. That's what you want. The Encore gets pushed to the side. You get Arkham, but on the other foot, the Malphite is trying to get something done. Prone actually takes them down. The carries on Hackers are still alive. The GOAT is trying to get something done, but the Aatrox and the Smolder are still alive, and that's all you need. Prone flashes forward, gets another one. The Hackers are pushing it. We get Smexy taking down the Dragon there too, and this should be the end of Zehen, as the GOAT also on the wrong side of the map will give another kill over to the Flying Dragon, as Hackers take the Dragon, take the fight, and likely will take the game sooner or later. Probably not right now.
They might be able to do it, but Nevzad, doesn't find anything with his ult. In fact, prone Zanya like stasis is late with the shattered arm guard there. But it, you know, and he wasn't even knocked up here. Look at this. Nevzat, we actually get after that, but flashes forward. Nevzat doesn't really have much outside of his ultimate here, but it's just Grussel, right? He's able to do so much work when he's not picked out here, and prone goes completely untouched here, thanks to the shattered arm guard. But now he has no summoner spells, no arm guard. He's once again pickable. He has no cleanse. He used it in that last fight as well. Might have the QSS back. Will in fact have that, and also upgrade to the Zanyas. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Hextech hackers might be taking us to a game 3, because how are you going to pick out the Smolder? You had like your only good way is this Malphite ult, and well, the reaction time has been on point for prone so far in this game. It would take an astronomical mistake here for them to throw it all away. But I have seen crazier things, so I won't write off TOF just yet. But Baron, as they march down mid lane, they might learn from their mistake to not force a fight there in the mid lane.
Yeah.
Something again, I think they kind of
error.
yeah. Something they could be doing better here on the side of, you know, Hextech hackers is they could be syncing their waves better, right? Look at this top wave. They don't ever have to respond to this top wave because their top wave is actually pushing a top on the side of TOF, so they genuinely never have to worry about this. Now they can kind of just deathball around their mid inhibitor and just play around your numbers, right? Like, this is why syncing up wave states is actually so important sometimes, because it makes sieging so much easier for you as the team you know, that is sieging. Now, here in the bot lane, of course now.
Yeah.
Not a lot of vision here in the way, but right now, looking like this Aatrox is able to take a reset actually to clear out this top wave, so they don't really get anything out of this. They do get the mid inhibitor. Oh!
That is the worst possible target for Hextech hackers to have hit there by the ultimate. Nice move from Bandit. They get the exact member they needed. That is a minute dead for both Prone and Smexy, and that is a game changer for the Devils.
Look at the cleanse time. Look at the cleanse timer. Just watch. It is so close. So close. Oh my god, disaster. I cannot believe I cast a curse that. Oh my god, I am so sorry. Hextech hack. Oh no.
I mean,
it's not the game. It's not.
Yeah, it's not the game, but I mean that's really good if you're the Devils. You know, you take so much pressure off. Like I was gonna mention, when they had the Baron buff, when the hackers were pushing in, there's no more breathing room. Like, you don't have towers. I think if they did get that top wave shoved in a little sooner, it would have felt a lot more like a slow suffocation rather than having any sort of chance. But it is Grussel. As soon as Grussel leaves, it's just, that's your moment, that's your time. And Prone not having the cleanse at that crucial moment, that is what does it, as Devils keep themselves in the game.
Well, 45 seconds of Drake. Smolder, both summoners available. Both Zanyas and this QSS are in his pocket and available. Surely now he won't get picked, right? Like, this is actually horrible if you're TOF. Because yes, you were able to find the Smolder pick at the perfect time, right? He didn't have cleanse, right? Literally the perfect time. But how are you going to do it again when he has everything in his pocket available here? And you're going to give away such an impactful soul, right? The additional move speed they get to have. You know, you have Aatrox, who works really well with the Cloud Soul active when you utilize your ultimate, the additional move speed. You know, the Smolder is going to be able to kite himself away, and it's looking like they might just give it. It is going to go down to about half HP.
Yeah, they could find an angle. Look at Goat on the back line. Maybe try and just get a flank here. Charm does go wide. Here's Encore onto 3, though. That is really huge. Unstoppable Force does some good work. Here's the burst damage coming in. Here is Pro doing so much work on this backside. And this should actually,
They get on prone.
the Devils are pushing back. Here's
Russell!
This is way closer than it should be. The mid and top from the Devils are putting in so much work as Grussel now 1v2 trying to use that healing, trying to stay alive, but the damage is too good. And now there's only one member left from the Hackers. It is Soul over to the Hackers, but they lose almost their whole team for it. What am I watching?
Prone kind of panics a little bit. He doesn't eat anything and cleanses or uses his QSS on nothing. Now Mercurial Scimitar, so we'll have that active again, but this game should not be this close. Thankfully, it's going to be Hextech Hackers that are able to pick up the Soul, right? That's a lot of power. The additional move speed is really going to help out the Smolder, sidestep abilities, put himself in a good position. Also, makes Nautilus run kind of funny with the home cards there. But somehow, against all odds, TOF just keep finding fights that realistically they have no business winning. And yes, you remember that Zehen who was 0-5, all sad alone in top lane? Well, he's killing your Smolder now in the Dragon Pit. 3-8-8 here on the Zehen, and paired with the Chosen Goat, they are literally keeping TOF in the game. Drake,
our third Baron of the game now.
Yeah, this is now going to be our third Baron of the game, and both times has led to a Hextech Hackers disaster on a siege. So let's hope this time, maybe they're like, yeah, guys, I think Baron's cursed. We are not taking Baron. Maybe they're like, yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that. But, this tempo could actually lead to potentially a Baron start from TOF. They can kind of recognize this. Look where the Smolder is. They might just pull the trigger on the Baron. They are posturing really hard around it. They are going to start it up. Look at the melt here as well. Oh, I think we're gonna get scared though.
Risky though. You don't want to get engaged on in the pit like that. We have Grussel moving in from the other side. Back into his stalemate. Flank from the Aatrox could be pretty good. Here's the Worldender trying to get onto Bandit here. Here's the burst, but Bandit goes down. So much damage. This is a very close fight, but Grussel goes down on the other side. This is the Head putting in so much work now. Has that revive available too. Is just standing on the front line for so long. We still have the Goat, but here's the Smolder. That's the main target.
Oh no!
Take down Smexy. Smolder gets pulled back with the flash. Has to use the QSS again as well. And what is happening? First the Gwen, now the Zehen. You are just somehow having so much impact.
There's no way this is happening. Look at the Zehen, by the way. He is doing so much work. He's 1v4 during this, by the way. His team is not helping him at all. Oh my god, there is just no shot that Hextech Hackers are about to lose this 2-0.
This definitely should not have been a 2-0 if it will be, but you have 20 seconds on the jungle, on the bot lane. Grussel will be up before then, so maybe a little bit more. Oh! But here's the top of a force. Prone doesn't have much left to keep themselves safe besides this Golden will go down as the Dragon. That should be the end of the hope here for Hextech Hackers. But here's another Golden, actually, as Grussel will take down Nevsot, and this won't be the end of the game. I stand corrected, as here's the pushback from the Hackers. Another Hourglass, but it will just end in disaster for the Devils now. And now this could be the game for the Hackers as they move forward. These death timers are long. It will be only Bandit left standing after this, as long as Arkham can get away. We'll see. Will go down there to Smexy. So this should be the end of the game now. What a wild one.
Why are they going for that? Like, they use so much in the first place. Just take a breather, take the win. But they go too far, and it's going to cost them Hextech Hackers to, in fact, knock it 2-0 here as, well, they're surely, they have too much damage. It's Ashe by herself for so long. 10 seconds.
Surely this is over, right? Worldender comes out.
It's over. It's over.
Chance of Crystal Arrows here, but you're not stalling nothing, as this will be our cursed game number 3 in this series. Wow, I was not expecting such a crazy game number 2. But
I didn't.
props to
I'm
the
so
hackers.
glad. I'm so glad I didn't Castle Curse them. But my God, they wanted to lose. They did not want to win that game. They were trying so hard. Multiple Baron throws as well. Like, at some point, when do you recognize, hey, maybe we should synchronize all of our ways so that way, you know, they can't just meatball us and then we overstep and then, you know, we lose all of the tempo we just gained ourselves. But man, TOF were just so close to like that sick comeback against a comp that outscales them. Like they were so close to the comeback here. LeChosen Goat doing most damage in the entire game as well. And it just doesn't matter. Like they just throw it all away, going for some shoddy end call against. Again, I understand. You're like, how many times are we going to be able to keep killing the Smolder and it just go our way? All right, I get it. Okay, but you can't end there. Like it's physically impossible for you to end. Their death timers are too short. It's going to take you too much time. The Smolder was able to stall out with the Zhonya's once more. Obviously not in the inventory right now, but it was there. Was able to buy some time to not get immediately one shot, so they had to overcommit for him. And it's just disaster for TOF. But even the fact they had a chance in that game is disgusting. Like that should not have even remotely happened. Because it should have just been all gas, no brakes once they started stacking those Drakes, getting the, you know, even the second Baron, right? Like that should have just been the book shut.
But I mean, you know, they still did it. It looked shaky, it didn't look good, but they did it, and they do take us to game number 3. So they have another chance. You know, if they win this, if the hackers win this, they will be tied with TOF in the standings. So definitely some strange playoff contention shenanigans there, especially with, I think, Syndicate was it right in between them in the standings. So we'll have to see how this game number 3 goes. You know, TOF still did look good. You know, I like what Kendrick is doing. I just wish it didn't start with a 0-5 this game. So I don't know. We'll have to see what's in store for us. I don't even know what to expect anymore between these two teams.
Yeah, me neither. Well, like, you know, like Boss Kitty said, I think we'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere because, you know, this game for sure was a banger, and I'm sure the next one might be as well.
All right in the draft here for the third and final game here between TOF and the Hextech Hackers. And that is a Yunara first pick, which I really like for TOF.
Oh, Yunara. Tried, true, consistent. Don't know what to pick. Kind of like Ezreal. Really safe. Hard to find really bad matchups. Aphelios, kind of the most notable one. Hextech Hackers opting for the Xin Zhao early, though, as we're kind of having a little bit of a come down after such a high from last game. Because, man, I felt like I was high watching that game. I had no clue what was even happening in half of it. Felt like a fever dream, but here we are. Chorus, Karma, staying banned is not surprising at all. Really good support, but it's actually a Syndra blind pick here for Hextech Hackers, which is a little bit of a risky move, judging by the fact that Chosen Goat has been carrying TOF basically every single game, and somehow, even though without me, like, yeah, I just wanted to look at mid lane this game to spread the love, but it is really paying off for me in terms of, Chosen Goat, who has really been trying his hardest to get TOF a good victory. But the Yunara Lulu is really, really, really strong. It also kind of shuts down dive opportunities like the Xin Zhao. Polymorphing Xin Zhao as a Xin Zhao player sucks. It does not feel good at all. So Lulu, a bit of a stickler thanks to that polymorph, and should provide some additional tankiness for her teammates that do choose to get Unleash powered, the orb getting thrown at them. But the response to the mid lane here for Chosen Goat is actually going to be the Victor, which the most immobile champion we've seen him on so far. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, I mean, Victor can easily carry games in my book, so I'm here for the GOAT. Definitely a different style, but can absolutely have equal impact. I really like what TOF have built in this first three. It's scaling, it's power, it's that kind of mid-late game spike, as the response will be the Senna for the Hackers. Unclear if that's going to be, bot lane or Enchanter Senna or something weird. We saw a fasting Senna last week with a Scion 80 carry. So maybe we'll see some more weird stuff. But definitely like what TF are putting together. I also kind of like what, Hackers are putting together. Lots of scaling, game 3 nerves, tried and true.
Hey, I mean, the Smolder did inevitably work out for you. So you might as well just pick something that scales. Not as hard, but does scale at least. Now, for Hextech Hackers, I think taking away things that are good into the J4, like this, the Trundle is great. Also could be telling me we might be looking at an Ornn pick in the top lane. A Cassante, a Scion, something like that. Also Trundle ban. If they're planning on going Scion is great, because you have the 2 added benefits, like Subjugate is really good against the Scion. But also the Pillar. How do you ult a Scion? Because you just have to deal with a Pillar always being thrown in your path every time. With the Mundo as well. Mundo, incredibly popular for an ACL. If you are watching, I really do recommend going and checking out NACL games, because A, they're super fun, but also you get to see some of the, well, I say meta, but that's kind of like some invented meta, some kind of what you're expecting to see. Mundo, really high priority champion, and has been doing really well in the NACL, but won't see that here. So good ban away, I think, here from. It's actually will be Senna support here for the Hextech Hackers, which is a little scary for me, because if you can get on top of that Senna gen, there's not a whole lot they can really do about it. That's the bit of an unfortunate part about picking this bot lane.
Yeah. I mean, the really scary elements are kind of gone. The Malphite's gone, the Jarvan's gone. You don't have things that just immediately destroy you if you have immobile carries. But having immobile carries in general is pretty scary, It's actually the Ornn will come out on the other side. they saw the Trundle was out, and they said, we'll take that Ornn from you. Definitely a good blind pick. And the Trundle ban, it was a little confusing to me when you were talking about it, because there wasn't really anything left for them to counterpick besides top lane. You know, we already saw ADC, we already saw support. We have both mid laners picked. So definitely a good blind pick on the other side there for TOF. The Ornn does exactly what you need to do for that composition. And the Kha'Zix throws in some backline access and some backline threats. So I love to see it.
Well, if Quax is watching, he's super happy, but let's just talk about the Kha'Zix real quick. If you recall, all the way back in 2024 Worlds, maybe 2025. I think it was 2024 though. It was Canyon. Canyon picked out Kha'Zix into J4, or into Xin Zhao, and the reason being is Kha'Zix is a counter pick into Xin Zhao, because you can end up ulting, you know, every time he E's on you, you just ult, so you kind of wait off the attack speed, and then you just beat him in the 1v1, because Kha'Zix 1v1 potential is great because of the isolation damage, of course, but we have to see what you're able to do in team fights. That's one of the hard things. Now, the way Canyon played it is, you know, kind of like Canyon Italy. He just gets a incredible CS lead by invading you in your face, and getting impact that way by forcing the enemy jungler to be so far behind that it's hard for them to even team fight. And to point out Hextech Hacker's last pick, and to call out and pat myself on the back, it is Sion. So setting themselves up for one of those tanks. And obviously I think they knew they were putting Senna support, which it seems like they definitely were at the very least considering it. Definitely needing some frontline there, so the Trundle Band making sense there. And opting for the scalability of the Sion into the Ornn. Now, Ornn's still kind of strong to the point that he is getting nerfed, or I think he did get nerfed. Regardless, too much value from his items that he's able to ride to his teams, because he's just utilizing the top lane quests so well. I've been talking about this every time I see Ornn. I'm like, yeah, man, this top lane quest on Ornn is so good, because he just prints out items for your team so much earlier than normal, which actually gives your team such a massive advantage, because like ornaments used to be kind of like a minor part of his kits, because you usually didn't really get to see in majority of games him printing out items for all of his teams. But basically every single game this season that he's picked, he's printing out items for his entire team, not only for his entire team, but also earlier in the game.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to choose between Ornn and Sion, I would definitely choose Ornn, like especially for this team, you know. I don't really see a way if it goes past like 25-30 minutes, if they get their items, if they get those ornaments, I think it's just like, you know, you got great engage, you got great tank, you got kind of everything. You know, you have two amazing scaling carries, you have an enchanter support, you have a go button, you have an assassin. Like, I think TOF are in a very good spot here to carry. Now on the other side, there are, you know, three infinitely scaling champions, I think including the Syndra. So they do have a lot of scaling there, but definitely not the same as a Smolder. Smolder has a lot of impact if he gets to that late game. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the Senna support either, but we'll have to see what it can get done if you do go that enchanter build. Maybe you go the armor shred build for the Ornn. We'll see what Winter wants to do there. But there's still one important thing we haven't done, and that is our Dragon Soul Roulette. This game, we got double tanks. I'm gonna go Mountain Soul. Keep it nice and simple.
That's fine. That's fine. I think this game, I'm going to go with a nice, easy Infernal Soul, just because I want to see Kha'Zix in this backline and tear through Synogen, because punish them for their hubris, basically, here. And in fact, speaking of hubris, we might see that one first built by Jen. It's actually been kind of becoming popular because of how gold efficient hubris is now. We might even see it first item, well, maybe second item for the Kha'Zix. Jumu's so good as a jungler because of the extra move speed, so we'll see what happens. But I think we'll take a quick break before our last game of tonight after, well, a game 2 banger, a game 1 kind of dominant stomp, from TOF, but see who can take it. We'll be right back.
All right. Welcome to the third and final game in this best of 3 series between TOF Devils and the Hextech Hackers. I'm going to say it this time. I think we're going to have a quiet early game. You know, we got a lot of scaling. Hopefully I don't jinx it. Maybe that means we will just get more blood, in which case I'll be happy. But I'm expecting a lot of calm scaling energy here.
Hey, look. Every time we get like these scaling lanes, it's actually when it's the bloodiest. So hey, you know, you're writing your own, like, I guess, will with this. You know, you want to yap a whole lot this game, have at it, okay? That's what you're wishing, okay? But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, right? We have Sion versus Ornn in the top lane, and Jin Senna versus Yunara's Lulu. Surely this game is the one quiet AML game. If anything, we're going to see crazy things happen. It'll probably be mid lane, so...
yeah, but I mean, even that is a Victor versus Syndra. You know, Syndra wants to scale, Victor wants items. It's like... yeah, it's just hard to find a spot where I'm like, yeah, that's what they're going to play through. That's where they're going to do some crazy shenanigans. Mostly seems calm.
Yeah, I mean... I think as well, right, like, with the Zinzao versus Kha'Zix more of a farming jungler, right? He doesn't really gank all that often, especially, like, in a competitive setting, right? You're picking the Kha'Zix to go invade the Zinzao later, or, like, not obviously your first rotation is kind of hard, but later on you want to invade. So, I want to see... like, I want to see them, you know, kind of just chill, right? Like, I want this to be the non-AML game that we're so used to, the non-M600 game, right? Just take a deep breath, scale up, right? And then front to back to glory, right? Like, let's see it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some beauty, in my opinion, in a good front to back. As I think TOF displayed that pretty well last game, actually. Besides a couple hiccups, they did have the front line doing front line things, and they did have the back line doing back line things, and I love to see that. This is definitely like, if you're gonna front to back, it is in this scenario, as Sion getting dangerously low here. Flash forward from the Ornn, but will be unable to take that kill, as both top laners invest the flash, but even so, a kill onto an Ornn, you know, that won't change much.
Yeah, won't really change much, but hey, flash for flash, baby. Flash for flash. In the mid lane, though, is actually where the danger is here, as I think for the first time it's been the chosen goat kind of on the back foot in this lane. Granted, that's expected, as Kha'Zix finding the engage.
Yeah, no ultimate to do that counter pick yet. As you were talking about, but movement from the Ornn will secure that fight on the top side. So you have a little bit of a skirmish down here in the bot as well. Senna is very squishy at these early levels, but Bandit is now the one under threat. But Heal will get us first blood onto the Yunara. Nice use of the summoner spell there, kind of baiting the Senna to go forward, but great kill over the Devils for first blood.
Something to, you know, you have to consider when you're playing Jin Senna is your overall time is not great here. Like, look at this. You don't have DPS as Jin Senna. Like, that's just not what you do. It's a great route here. Barrier actually doesn't get all that much value, but 4-shot already utilized here for prone. And look at the push play coming through is so great from TOF spot lane, and they get themselves going early. The Yunara claiming a lead over this Gen 4 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get an early kill, you definitely want it on the Yunara. Victor is going to do a lot in the late game, but Yunara is kind of your way of shredding Sion, your way of getting a lot of damage onto those backline carries. So gold exactly where they want it, in my mind, for the Devils.
Yeah, I think as well, right? Like, it's just going to put so much pressure on the Synergen that, you know, otherwise wouldn't have been there, right? Like, this is going to be an early Kraken for the Yunara. That's actually Arcane Storm going to be utilized there in the mid lane. Not the end of the day, of course, but still something to consider here. wave shoved in for the top side, but also look at the wave state here, right? It's pushing into them. Look at the Kazakhs looking in mid lane for the Syndra as well, pushing her off the tower line.
Yeah, trying to get a little bit of pressure here in the mid lane. But the main question I'll ask you, since this has been pretty calm, no caster curse hopefully, what do you think is the breaking point for these teams? Where do you think they have the most agency to get what they want done?
Well, I mean, realistically, you're looking at TOF's comp. Their only like real like fight starter is Ornalt. So that's kind of where you're going to be looking around for TOF. Or should Hextech Hacker decides to, engage. Albeit their engage isn't that great either, right? It's kind of going to come down to these top laners in my mind. To really make the to make it up. But I will say that I would really like to see. I want to see maybe some things coming out of Smexy, because I feel like for the most part, like the Vi game wasn't that bad, but I feel like Smexy has really not been all that great in the series. So maybe we can see some Sinzal stuff, split up these team fights. And while the Yunara does have a lead, buying time to kind of shred through some of this front line from TOF could be pretty impactful here, I'd say.
I mean, I can definitely see it. And the reason I ask is because it's like, since we keep talking about it, but it is going to be a slow early game. It has been a slow early game. It's just like, sometimes I find myself waiting for that point where it all comes crashing down, where they have some agency again. Yeah. And that is kind of like, you're waiting on bated breath. You're waiting for that moment. We only have one kill, 7 minutes in. No dragons taken yet either. We'll see if we can break the record from, was it game number 1, 10-minute dragon?
Yes.
But, I mean, one thing I do think is interesting too is we talked about these top laners kind of being the make or break for which team wants to engage. It is a very different look. When you're playing as a Hen, when you're playing a Gwen, when you're playing a Kennen, when you're playing an Aatrox, it is very, very different from playing things like the Ornn Sion matchup and trying to be that main engage. So we'll see who's up for the task. And it is nice to not see a top laner with 5 deaths already. So I'll take that.
I will also take that. It's nice to see, Kendar maybe not get so far behind. So we take those. Big dub. But speaking of Kendar, he's actually down some CS here. Actually transcend oneself.
Yeah, Flash invested there from Nevsot. Has to get away. This counter pick is not currently winning. It's actually flashed forward, but there's the wild growth to keep the Kazakhs alive. Here's some action. Nice use of the Lulu ultimate there to help them win that fight. They take down the Hextech Hackers jungler and will earn themselves this first Infernal Drake as their prize.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like really solid stuff, I think, coming through. As they're actually able to keep the Kazakhs alive, which nets them their first Drake, and I'm already wrong about the Soul. Infernal was going to be her first Drake, and Chemtech will be up next, it looked like. Now, on top of this, because both teams kind of struggle to start fights without their top laner, it's going to be really funny around some of these mid-game fights when the top laners aren't around as to what even happens, because, like, what do you even do? Is actually Kendark a little bit of danger here. And, walks it out. Chad.
Yeah.
Absolute Chad behavior. So we'll take that. So you love to see it from him. He's just able to walk out, doesn't die, and that's what we appreciate about Ornn, right? You're able to just waddle away sometimes. Of course, Mexi with no flash, making that play is going to be really hard. It's actually top lane forcing out flash off of the Scion. Yeah. Really close there.
opting to go for the dive is very risky, but Odd will also categorize that under Chad behavior personally. So nice move there. Want to get the dive. As we all know, Ornn can be pretty strong here in the early game, but already full items completed on the top laners. I think that is the first in the game, besides the very cheap lethality item on the Kha'Zix. But that's kind of cheating, you know, barely any gold invested there. 2 kills over, about 1,000 gold lead to TOF here. And yeah, really waiting on these top laners to use their ultimates and start something up for us.
Yeah, I concur, but we'll see what's... Kandark is actually kind of getting low, but it will be the Protoplasm, which has actually been really popular, of course, because of a tweet by FiGarfy2 talking about how a lot of Ornn players have been building wrong for a while, ever since the introduction of this item, but he's actually down some experience here, despite what happened top is now Smexy. Look at this damage. And this is the counter pick that I'm talking about.
Counter pick in action as the kill goes over to let Chosen Goat. That is now 3 kills on the 3 most important members of TOF. And it might not be the most exciting lead. They definitely are building a very solid lead here in the early game.
Yeah, I want you to just look at how Nevzat actually plays this counter matchup. Look, he goes in, he sees the E, he's just sitting in ult, right? He goes and then gets another Q reset, and the Chosen Goat opting to utilize his flash there for a nice kill, but Transcend oneself is popped in the bot lane. Doesn't lead to anything. In fact, Bandit takes more damage there than was done. Also looking like it will be the Black Cleaver first item here for Winter, which is necessary. You are 4 AD champions here on the side of Hextech hackers, but regardless, I'm just wondering if maybe a different support would have been a better option here for their comp, because, you know, as we told, Nevzat.
Oh, they do it again.
Now.
Here's the Ornhorn from the distance, too, just giving the Zinzao no chance, but the stun actually will come in. There's the unleashed power, and will take down the Kha'Zix, as Hamal should be able to just walk it off. Yeah, nice trade there for the mid laner, as both junglers will go down.
Unfortunately, though, he's actually going to lose so much mid. Like, he's all of this roam time, he missed an entire wave. He's going to be able to walk back out for this next wave, though, but still losing an entire wave. Sure, you get a kill, but it's also breathing time for the Victor, who does outscale you. Like, that is a very real thing. Gets another plate on this mid tower. Good damage coming through, though.
Yeah, but Victor's so tanky, especially with Arkham right next to you, having all those incredibly strong shields. Even this early in the game, they just do so much work. As the support's taking a little stint towards the mid lane, but I imagine we'll head back to the bot lane soon to try and keep their AD carries company in this rather slow early game.
Yeah, and it is actually going to be the Storm Surge as well coming through here, or Storm Razor, man. That's actually Arkham in danger.
Yeah, getting rooted up twice. Here's the dash in plus wild growth, but this is not an engage that you want, as Prone will take down the Kha'Zix on the first end of this play. Flash invested there from Bandit, trying to just ensure that you get away. It looks like it will be successful, but maybe just a little bit of a premature hop in there from Nevzat will cost them their life.
I mean, they kind of overcommitted there. It was a flash, like, wild growth to go for that play, but really well read by Hextech hackers there to shut down that play. And it's a good roam timer from Himmel as well. It's up a kill on the gen there. Now Bandit looking on to Winter, but definitely HP bar is not in his favor. Does have the barrier, though. In the top lane, Kandark still behind in CS, so it's actually called the Forge God. There's no Scion ult here.
Yeah, no way to get out, really. The flash is coming up very, very shortly, but you're kind of just stuck in at this point, as Nevzat will take the kill. The Senna ultimate invested there, trying to help out just a little bit in that that revive will not get much done, as that is another kill over to the Kazakhs. That is exactly what you want if you're TOF.
Yeah, exactly what you needed as well. And they punish Grussel again, just barely. Like we saw last game where they had just barely been able to punish the Smolder, who had, cleanse coming up literally seconds, after their play had finished. Same thing happens here, right? Flash almost available for Grussel, but they get it done. And let's say their objective, their summer timings have been really well executed upon. As teleport utilized for both top laners, but the shield here for Grussel is a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see a lot of these top laners. They're doing a lot of damage, but I doubt it'll result in too much of a kill. As you kind of pointed this out earlier, but that CS lead is growing in the top side. Just about, looks like about 20 CS here difference, a little bit more for the Scion. Just up about 200 gold, so nothing too crazy here. But overall, about an 800, just under 1,000 gold lead for TOF overall. As both of the carries on the side of Hextech Hackers did get a kill somewhat recently. As Syndra and Jhin definitely not in a bad spot themselves.
Also, Kandark actually loses his tower. I'm not actually quite sure how this happened, because I will say I feel like he's been under tower a lot, but it seems like he's been focusing more on like trying to trade with the Scion than clear the wave, which could be the problem. But it is first tower over towards Hextech Hackers is now. Nice bait.
Yeah, but here's both junglers, but Smexy, it's not where you want to be in the melee range of that Cosmic. Actually chooses to go back in, takes a lot of burst damage, manages to survive for now. The curtains have called in that bot lane fight, but Bandit now trying to take down this mid wave, take down this behemoth in the mid lane. Tamal getting very low, but it looks like no blood will be drawn at this time.
You can actually see how hard it is for both teams to convert kills, because they just don't really have much in the way of like finishing them off. They kind of lack CC and engage power here, but regardless, bot lane play will dissolve, as in the mid lane, actually, Bandit finds a tier 1. And we have seen this before from Hextech Hackers, where they actually end up losing their mid-tier 1 very early, as now Kandark out of mana, but Grussel out of HP, so they will go their separate ways here.
Yeah, I don't think I was really worried about anyone dying there at any point in time. But that is the way that the tank matchups go. Lots of fighting, not a lot of killing. As you about would expect, but we are getting kind of towards that mid-game point, 18, almost 19 minutes in here. We'll have that next dragon in a minute, as, oh my god, the burst damage from the Kazakhs, and that is why you pick this champion. I am such a fan of picking this. Once you see a Senna and Jhin, you can just do stuff like that. You catch Jhin by himself, and there's just no chance that 80 carry has, as the Kazakhs being accelerated now, 2 items and those upgraded boots is going to do so much work as we get further into this mid game.
Yeah, also no hubris for either champion today on the Rift. Unfortunately, at least for Kazakhs, there's so many gold efficient items, you kind of can just play whatever you want. Umbral Glaive in competitive is actually one of the craziest items as a jungler. To run around, you get to kill so many extra wards thanks to it, so not shocked to see that one come through. But regardless, Nevzat picking up for a pretty mediocre game 2 here on the Kazakhs. And, well, GOAT has been quiet, but I think that's a good sign for TOF, because, realistically, they have not really had someone else to rely on it in their games. Today, it's really just been GOAT being the GOAT for them. Kandark, I think, had a pretty decent. Oh my god, there's no way. Look at this battle arrow. This is insane.
Oh, but missed the turret, so goes. Oh, but hits the other tower. I thought it was looking for maybe an engage onto the stump there to be in the middle of the team, get another knockup. But here is the Ornhorn trying to go for the engage here as Hamal's already dead. The GOAT picks up that first kill. The Crescent Guard keeps Smexy alive in the back half of that fight, but they got what they wanted. They got the mid laner. Now they can back off and just take this dragon.
Alright, yeah, they're able to pick up this dragon and, well, it's a mountain. And you're right twice, so you have now officially caught up to me. How are you feeling? How you feel about that,
Great today. I didn't notice that earlier, but yeah, I've now caught up on the Dragon Soul guessing. I'm finally not losing at my own game. But, you know, now moving into our playoffs, it'll be more important than ever to try and keep up our guessing streak. It's important for the teams, but it's more important for us, let's be honest.
Yeah, of course. You know, we got to get our dubs on the desk here, all right? We got to get our dubs, but anyways, more about the game. TOF looking more like their game 1 self than their game 2 self for sure. As it just, again, both comps, like I said, have a really hard time getting things going in terms of like fighting. But I guess when you can just plop a herald down like that for a battle herald, so funny. So funny that Kendark even does this, by the way. But he actually gets a pretty nice Call of the Forge God as he wraps around here. Like, so sure, the Scion is infinitely tanky here, but look, it's just the damage. They step too far forward. Disrespect. And as that is, well, Grussel calls everyone cowards and runs away. As Unstoppable Onslaught will be utilized there, but will not go down, which is the most important part. I do think now, look, there's already 3 ornaments printed. We are 22 minutes in. His own plus 2 of his teammates' items are, like, ornamented. How insane is that, by the way? Like, it's genuinely insane.
Crazy.
The amount of extra stats you get early is just so diabolical, I think. But regardless, will be a top tier 1 traded for a bot tier 1 at the exact same time. But yeah, so many extra stats provided here for TOF. 100 bolts completed here for Yunara, now working towards either an LDR or a Mortal Reminder. Probably will be the Mortal Reminder, though. Well, Senna isn't going like the Enchanter build, so you might not be as concerned with the healing as you are with like the sheer HP numbers coming through from like the Scion plus the Zao because of the Bruiser items. So we'll see what he opts to purchase here in the coming future. Kendark now clearing out some wards as we are still a while away from this next dragon. Will be soul point here for TOF should they be able to claim it. 2.5 minutes away. I would really like to see, you know, Hextech hackers look onto this Victor, right? Like, I feel like this Victor, you know, who also flashed onto Smexy for that kill earlier, has gone completely unpunished. Like, he is literally just kind of in his own lane. Like, he just doesn't care. I feel like they haven't really tried to capitalize on the immobility of the Chosen Guild. Well,
but on the contrary, they're looking for Maul. They pull the trigger, but here's our loot. Just a little bit too far forward. We'll get Chain CC. The Wild Growth not saving the poor Pixie Fairy as she will go down. Here's Crescent Guard as Smexy is now the front line moving forward, but there's the Cosmics onto the back line. So slippery, so much damage. Will take down another one. Now prone, the only carry left alive. As Bandit moving forward, Crescent Guard's over. You are vulnerable. Xin Zhao will go down as well. Brilliant team fighting from TOF.
Dude, Nebsat is really stepping up this game. Look at this damage. It is disgusting. But that's not only the only kill he's going to get. Unfortunately, Arkham, well, my friend, you have really nothing else you can do here. I feel like Goat kind of walks the wrong way here, but wants to be with the team here because they're going to obviously try to force. But look at this. Half elf gone, flashed out,
Deleted.
Able to get away as they actually get a 24.5 minute Baron completed here on the side of TOF. Just in time for soul point spawning in here. So they'll have this Baron for the soul point as they continue to look to press their lead farther, as this by far and away has been the most dominant game so far of tonight. That doesn't mean things can change though. As we saw last game, I was like really convinced that Hextech hackers were going to win that last game, and Well, they tried everything in their power to make me look wrong. But they did get around to it eventually. All right, they did get there. Okay, better late than never.
But I mean, you know, we saw multiple Barons. You know, a lot of Barons tonight. We'll see how this one ends up going. But I will say, based on how it looked in the first two games, TOF were the more consistent ones with pushing their advantage with the Baron. Although here, we do see Gressel pushing out that top side, so only 2 lanes of pressure here for TOF. But that might be enough as they find Smexy trying to get away by dashing onto Arkham.
Oh,
but now just so much displacement, plus the Ornhorn will take down the jungler for the Hextech hackers. This Mountain Dragon is up, will be sole point for TOF. But on top of that, for now, they can keep pushing their lead with the Baron.
Yeah, they'll be able to get the spot tier 2 eventually with the Baron, and initially they were kind of just utilizing the Baron to maintain prio so they could get this straight, you know, unbothered, but works out big time as Smexy gets caught out, and yes, they're losing quite a bit on the top side, but realistically, they put themselves on sole point. They're looking to siege this bot inhibitor tower now. As Kandar goes in.
Knock up onto the center, double knock up as the flash forward will do nothing. Hamal will go down, and Bandit actually getting very low from that tower. Here's the unstoppable onslaught trying to get something done, but tanked up by the Ornn. He's too tanky. You can't do damage to this guy as they're trying to take down the backline, but Bandit's still able to hit for now, trying to shred through the Scion. On the other side, we see our Kha'Zix, our main character of game number 3 here, actually going down as Bandit now getting shut down as well, as Gressel able to survive for so long on the front line in that afterlife. Smexy moving forward now is the front line for the team with the Crescent Guard, but maybe just a little bit too far forward as the Chosen Goat is still there. Might be out of mana, but not out of damage quite yet. A little bit iffy on the inhibitor push there, but I don't even know what to make of that, actually. What do you think?
This Ornn is literally just unkillable, by the way. Just does not care. Jhin 4th shot did probably 200 damage, if that. This Ornn. Kandaric having a much better game than the first 2 in the series. Definitely had the easiest lane phase, I would say, as that's definitely where he struggled, but yeah, he just refuses to die. Like, I don't know, like he's just never dying this game, I guess. Bandit does go a little too far there with the Transcend oneself, dashes forward, does get into does get caught out by the Deadly Flourish, so bit of a mistake, but ultimately they get the bot lane inhibitor tower, they get some more kills. I mean, their Baron was about to run out anyways, so it's not like they lost anything from that. As unsung hero is actually Arkham. Arkham has been doing so much work on the Lulu as well, as now all 5 ornaments have been printed out here for TOF, which definitely... Oh, come on.
Oh, no hope there. When the Kha'Zix finds the prey, that is end of story, as the unstoppable onslaught's actually used forward in the top lane, trying to clear out the wave, trying to prevent the push onto this tower, as this Ornn still very much unkillable on the front line here, even taking damage. I'm just so confident will not be going down, as, you know, Scion getting a little bit of pressure back for Hextech hackers, but it is looking pretty dire here. I think this is one of the biggest gold leads we've seen in the game, but maybe I spoke too soon. Never mind. Wild growth keeps them alive. This Lulu definitely is a silent carrier in game number 3.
Yeah, barely. Almost an execute threshold there on the Unleashed Power from Himmel. But yeah, as I talked about in draft, actually, that this Lulu can do actually quite a lot of work against the Unleashed Power. Is now unstoppable onslaught.
Doesn't find anyone. Flash used by Nevsot to get over the wall. Flash used by Arkham as well. And those are 2 very valuable cooldowns, as Hextech are pushing their temporary advantage here. TOF maybe overstaying just a little bit, but not too much of an advantage you can get there.
Now they are forced to back. Yes, they got flashes, but they really needed to pick up kills there. Of course, this Kha'Zix is so slippery. He doesn't really need his flash. We saw what he did to the Jhin. Didn't need flash then, so likely doesn't need flash. for the rest of this game. Drake spawning up in a minute, 15 seconds away from this Baron, as they actually have these objectives on really good timing. As they're
just tickling him.
This Ornn just does not care.
And here's the Ornhorn. They did use a decent amount of resources. There's the knockup. Xin Zhao's already dead. Smexy stands no chance. Here is our hero game number 3. Nevzat already takes down 1. Is getting a little bit low, but is able to hop out for now. I imagine this should just be the end of the game push here. You don't have Ornhorn to start a fight, but you do have a lot of damage. You still have Bandit. You still have the Wild Growth. You still have the Goat with their tools to try and make the end of the game just a little bit easier. They also could back off and go Baron, and that probably will be the call here.
Yeah. I think there were maybe a little bit of jitters from what happened last game, where they definitely could have, like, maybe won the game, but they tried a little bit too hard after their huge comeback. But they will pick themselves up the soul. Well, and if this Ornn wasn't dying before a single Mountain Drake was taken, he certainly will not be dying now once they pick up their 3rd Mountain Drake. Now, of course, you know, we've had this conversation about, like, Mountain Drake and strength. Well, the strength itself comes from the base stats given from the Drake and not the soul, particularly with Mountain Soul, because it's really just a shield that doesn't regenerate. Like, look how puny the shield is. So it's not really all that impactful, but trap being laid here in the Banana Rush. They are looking, but they will give it up.
Arkham. Watch Arkham.
Man.
Not able to catch the Lulu. But maybe speaking of what you were talking about, can we get a Arbor magic resist check on the Ornn maybe? Try to figure out just how tanky this guy really is. Oh my god, 400 armor. That is not even in combat, by the way. Boosted in combat.
Yeah, with Jackshow. Yeah, that is disgusting. He also doesn't even have a last item. Like, he's literally has an elixir in his pocket. So
yep, and they're pushing forward. You know, Scion also, to their credit, very tanky here, but not quite as tanky as Kendrick on the Ornn. Here's the Ornn. Here's potentially final engage, but actually rooted up, so unable to send back that ram to start the fight. However, we see our Kha'Zix on the other side. Wild Growth actually not enough to keep the Kha'Zix alive. Will go down on the other side. We should have to look at Bandit, look at Goat, see if they can get this done. But
look at Goat, though.
So far, the lines are holding for Hextech hackers, and there's actually the first kill from the Goat onto the Senna, onto Winter. Pushing forward is TOF. They want a little more. Here's Smexy on the backside, but those shields are so big, including Barrier, just completely unkillable there for Bandit. Nice work again from Arkham as they're pushing forward. They take them all. They should be able to take the game now. Fingers crossed.
Oh, we'll see. Scion is available here. HP bar is kind of low. The Chosen Goat, though, their healthiest member here. Can they get through the Scion? Looking like they're able to get through pretty easily.
Through. Second tower's gone. This should just be the end of the game. Bandit does have to be a little bit careful of that afterlife, but we see Kendrick wants the win, wants to prove themselves, and they will take down the Nexus. Unable to take down Arkham at the end there, but very, very convincing win here in game number 3 for TOF.
Yeah, I think definitely the most dominant game we had today. Even though it did take a little bit long, but it is what it is. But great stuff coming out from TOF this game. Like, everyone was just winning, right? Like, this time it wasn't on Goat to carry them the whole way, right? Like, it literally was, everyone was working, doing really well. Kendrick on the Ornn, literally just completely unkillable, you know? So, I think, yeah, overall, I mean, for me, MVP of the series, definitely Goat, but last game, I think, man, kind of a hard thing. Like, I don't want to like Kendrick, you know, could be like an MVP for this game because he's unkillable, but that's kind of the champ. Like, their draft, like, is literally, they literally could not kill him with their draft. Like, it didn't matter. So, was it really him, or was it Nevzat on the Kha'Zix that, like, really got the ball rolling here? I think I'm going to give it to Nevzat. Like, the ability and confidence in yourself to pick out Kha'Zix in a game 3 where you're being like 4th seed, kind of close, right, in these playoffs, that takes a lot of guts, a lot of confidence in yourself, and it did pay off. It does have the tier there in the inventory. Whether be it for meme or whatnot, but regardless, well played overall from TOF, and Nevsat on a fantastic Kha'Zix game.
Yeah, I mean, you love to see it. I love to see those creative counter picks. I think it definitely was a very good answer in the draft there on blue number 5. But yeah, I definitely would give the player of the game to Nevsat, and player of the series to the GOAT in the mid lane. Definitely most consistent by far for TOF through this series. Maybe we can give Kendrick like an honorary mention here, most improved player or something across the 3 games. Definitely looked the best near the end. 0 kills, but also 0 deaths and 500 plus armor. So very impactful there. I do think Hextech Hackers showed some good stuff there, especially in game number 2. They did get it done. Was a little messy, but if they do make it to playoffs, I'll be excited to see what they can get done. Any final thoughts on these 2 teams today?
Well, hopefully here for TOF, they kind of figure out some of their early game qualms, especially in the top lane. Right, like that is a really big thing to talk about, right? Because as it turns out, it's really important for you to have a good early game. So hopefully they'll be able to figure that out as we move into playoffs here. We've got 1 more week left before we get into that. As for Hextech, I do worry a little bit because, this loss, I'm almost certain they're out. Barring, I guess, Syndicate, who had a bye week this week, completely crashes out next week, and then they're able to 2-0. But even then, I think they're tied with that. So good luck, basically. But I think their playoff opportunity is run out regardless. But still, they put up a good fight in game number 1 or game number 2. Game number 1 was kind of just unfortunately they got stomped a little bit too hard by the GOAT on the Galio. And well, game 3 was a stomp the whole way through. Everyone was ahead. So TOF, well-deserved victory today. And I guess we'll see you next week. I'm excited.
Yeah. Thank you very much for casting with me. Thank you to Macros for production. Thank you, Zen Market, for sponsoring us today. And thank you guys for watching. And we'll see you next week for more AML action. Catch you later.
Bro, just use Zen Market.